3380, contact LA Center 124.62. That was 3380, contact LA Center 124.62.
Tower Coho 52 ready for departure, intersection at Bravo.
52 Heavy, Edwards Tower right, runway 23 left at Bravo, wind 200 at 14, clear for takeoff.
Off, runway 23 left at Bravo, Coho 2.
Dispatch driver.
Wayland 33 Edwards Square, runway 23 left, taxi at Foxtrot Charlie, hold short, runway 23 right. Skull 50 on departure, maintain VFR, squawk 0150, departure will be with Joshua, local channel 6. Skull 50, understood to climb flight level 200 on request. Wayland 33 on departure, maintain VFR, squawk 0133, departure will be with Joshua, local channel 6. Skull 50, cross runway 23 right at Charlie, contact tower and ready.
Call 52 Heavy, Tower, just confirming you'll be doing the same thing as yesterday, holding about north of the tech hand there.
Affirmative, we'll be doing the same thing as yesterday, and past 3600, we're going to go departure.
You can stay with me on the frequency, sir, just like yesterday. I don't know why they passed that to you. You can stay with me the whole time, and we'll work it out for you.
Copy, we're staying with you, and we're going up to about 5,000 MSL for this first pass.
No problem.
Hey everyone, welcome to the stream. Using my radio here, I'm able to hear the. As you can see, I can hear the air traffic control. So I'll be live streaming this.
Runway 23 right at Charlie, and report 1 off to Bravo.
Roger, no problem, sir.
Wayland 33, cross runway 23 right at Charlie and contact tower and ready.
Well, yeah, I'm just gonna be live streaming air traffic control coverage. So yeah, trying to get this. Seems to be looping when I put the audio in for the ATC. So yep, I'll keep it on here. This is the live stream for Edwards. But once they come up, I'll have this playing as well, with the air traffic control in the background. So just stand by. Yes, Blue. I do know when they're taking off. I have a few aircraft. I remember there's a few of them holding short. I heard one just take off just now. So you'll definitely be able to hear them when they're holding short and taxiing, and then in the air too. So yeah, stand by. It'll be a little slow for now, but pretty sure it'll get a little bit more when time goes on. I'm just setting up some things, going to be testing before it starts. Making sure the sounds are good, audio levels are good. I think that'll work.
Contact SoCal approach 124.6, good day.
So what's everybody up to? Where you tuning in from?
2103, contact Los Angeles Center 124.62.
Hey Blue, Los Angeles, huh? So not too far away. Pretty close. Kind of surprised they're not flying over LA. Guess because of the busyness, you can't really do an air show without controlling some of the airspace. So LA would be pretty busy. Oh, nice. Yeah, I know where those ponds are. Cool. You'll be able to see a lot of things. I wish I was able to put my get my radio somewhere else so I can hear everything, but I can hear just about everything over here. I haven't heard anything from the ground yet. It's kind of weird. Look on there's no military in the air yet. What is this one? Not part of the air show though, but some military stuff over there. Should be able to follow most of the aircraft as they go around. If I can get you the route that it's taking. Pretty sure mostly everybody has it, but just in case people don't have the routes. It's quiet on the old Edwards Air Force Base front. Get those routes for you guys. 1 second.
22 Josh approach well. November 01 Bravo, report Lake Isabel in sight.
This hat, I guess, go to the website. Straight to the website. It is. So here are their routes. So this was yesterday, and this will be today. So they'll fly over. There's the air show frequency. The one was doing something. So there's Edwards, take off from here, circle around Lancaster, Palmdale, circle around Hesperia, Apple Valley, Victorville, go over Barstow, Fort Irwin, Ridgecrest, and then come back. That's the plan. Here are the times right here. The windows, I must say. The windows, time windows. So yeah, just stand by and should be getting started here shortly.
Approach stand numbers again, please. The Edwards altimeter 29902. Arcaho 52 is 30 seconds from our wind indicator drop.
Talk to it.
Oh yeah, and they're doing a sonic boom here too to start it. So I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, but it'll probably scare me. Here's some rumbling. Should be on here. I'm surprised it's not on here.
Tower Coho 52, streamers away.
Coho 52, roger, and you're going to climb on up for your next holding test?
Affirmative, we're climbing up to 7300, go back to the holding, and we'll be there until we push for our actual drop.
Oh, I guess that's the
Go 52.
that's the paratroopers, I think. Your jet's taking off right now as well. Alright, cool, thanks. Yeah, Prince, thanks. It'd be cool. See them taking off and flying over, and should be able to see a lot from over there. Yeah, if you're on... Yeah, if you're on... Oops, that was on my stream on there. So, going to go over here. This is where... That, he's over here. Ponds, this is Edwards right here. And the ponds are right here. So they're going to take off and fly over this way. So it should be a pretty cool view of everything. Everything's mute. Control. That's pretty neat. Short little lane.
Hold short, 123 level, we're going to do a quick side check for streamers that came down.
So in the meantime, I'm gonna show my landing in Cessna 172 at Catalina Island on Microsoft Flight Simulator. I'll be showing that in the meantime. Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, I usually play a Falcon BMS. This is an F-16 air combat simulator, similar to the more popular DCS, Digital Combat Simulator. So the new flight simulator came out, and here's my first 2 flights in that new flight sim. I flew the Cessna 172 and the TBM around Southern California, over LA and then to Catalina, where pilots were waiting to take off from. The flight was very scenic, and that landing at Catalina was no joke. It was definitely a challenge with the slope runway. So don't worry, I will still have Falcon BMS videos. My VY is Catalina Island. Nice. Miles, 5 miles, I'll put down the gear. There's 5 miles. Gear coming down. Alrighty. Little overshot just a little bit. Person on the runway? Yeah, it's someone on the runway. Wonderful. The heck? First notch of flaps. Keeping it a little high. The airport in the sky. Another notch of flaps.
50, line up and wait, runway 23 left.
Still on the runway. Some people out there. Oh goodness, Jesus. Oh. More power. That was bumpy. I don't know if they see me or not. I don't think they do. I think they do because they're waiting for me, so I guess. Oh. Ooh. Ate the dust on that one. And brakes. Southern drawl. Alright. Well, there's a giant plane here. So that was my last video. If you haven't seen, it's on YouTube. And this is going to be some video that I have not released. I'm not going to make a video of it, so I'll just show it here in the live stream. This is my takeoff in at Santa Barbara. I'm going to take off in the Caravan over here at Santa Barbara. So there's an unrestricted climb right there, clearance. So here we go. Just gonna show this. So yeah, this simulator is pretty nice. Took a long time for the takeoff roll, but I finally got up.
Santa Barbara.
So when I did get up there, I was doing other clearance for takeoff. See if I can get the sunset shots I was doing. That's not Chino. Over by Ontario. Oxnard. I hear the taking off right now. Camarillo Airport. It's Camarillo Airport.
Approach, Skull 50 with you, 15,000 and climb for 20.
There's Skull. 15,000 climber for 20. I'm gonna close this out. We went to nighttime. TV's up on here. Oh, I don't see him on here yet. C-130 over there. It's H-60 Black Hawk over there on the ground.
Skull 50 up mission, head here on this street.
Skull 50 as you Josh approach the landing clear, ident, Edwards altimeter 2992.
50 with the flash copy 2992, currently 3 miles west or east of the field, 20,000.
Skull 50, roger, radar contact, do you need any higher?
A-firm are looking to get up to 350 in the next 10 miles. 10 minutes after that.
Have another aircraft on, also out on frequency.
50.
So it seems like they're starting.
4,000 for 1 to 2,000 left turnout.
1 flight, Edwards, start runway 23 left, taxi at Foxtrot Charlie, hold short runway 23 right.
Coho 52 second.
We're going to hold. Get down for our airdrop. We're not going to be climbing any higher. Upon completion of the airdrop, we're going to be after that.
Skull 50, clear 2515 at or below flight level 300.
Skull 50, clear 2515 out or below 300.
Wayland 33, are you on mission or ATC? Say intentions ident.
5,500 for 1 2,000. $515 out or below 300 for Wayland 33.
Skull 11 flight on departure, maintain VFR. Skull 11 squawk 0111. Skull 12 squawk 0112. Departure bit, Joshua approach local channel 6. Started, thank you.
So if you're just now joining us, alright, seems like they're starting, so enjoy the live stream from Edwards. I'll still have the air traffic control in the background.
Air15 Heavy Edwards, ground runway 23 left, passenger Foxtrot Charlie, hold short runway 23 right, information Bravo, current altimeter 299.
Foxtrot Charlie, hold short 23 right, no problem,
And Air15 Heavy on departure, maintain VFR, squawk 0115, partial bill drop, approach local channel 6.
0115, squawk, channel 6,
Goal 11 flight, cross runway 23 right, Charlie, contact carrier.
Even before Edwards Air Force Base was designated as the U.S. Air Force Flight Test Center in 1951, this iconic base in the Mojave Desert had already begun its transformation into the center of the American flight research. From the first flight to break the sound barrier to the first landings of the space shuttle and the 1986 around-the-world flight of the Rutan Voyager, innovation and the desire to learn has run deep in the DNA of aviators all across the base. If the concept has seemed feasible or even just desirable, it's been tested in the Aerospace Valley.
Too heavy, Ponderosa advises, if you want to go there, you can go early.
Hey, everybody, happy Saturday morning, wherever you might be, wherever you may be tuning in and watching us. I'm Dan Hawkins from the Air Education and Training Command Public Affairs team, and I'm delighted to be joined this morning by the commander of the 412th Test Wing and the installation commander for Edwards Air Force Base, Brigadier General Matt Heiger, as well as the command chief for the 412th Test Wing, Ian Eishen. Gentlemen, how are you? It is a great day for air power.
I'm great. Yeah, super excited. This is flying day 2 of the air show here, but it's really day 6 of the hybrid Aerospace Valley Hybrid Air Show event. And I could not be more thrilled to be here sharing the stage again with you, Dan, today. On my right side today is, this morning, first off, is my command chief, Chief Ian Eishen. And we could not be more thrilled.
You know, it's been a great week, and we've had a lot of science, technology, engineering, and math activities all week long, and really trying to take what we do here at Edwards out to the community, as both to highlight the hard work of the men and women here, but also to give thanks to the community.
No, that's true. So if you look at every single aircraft that's flying today, that is decades of work, both by the community.
Just let me know if something's too loud or something's too soft. Just put it in the chat, and I'll adjust accordingly.
Was designed, works correctly, and is now flying and actually pushing the air power downrange is amazing. And so we wanted to be able to show that as a testament of what everybody's able to do when they come together. And then it's just really cool to see.
And so we have got a lot of cameras. We got some on the flight line here at Edwards, or also out in the community. So Palmdale and Fort Irwin at the National Training Center. So we'll get all the images of our aircraft flying out over there as you get a look at some of the live shots coming in to us at Broadcast Central. So can't wait to see the aircraft start flying as you get a good look there at the B52 Stratofortress on the flight line, sir.
What a great airplane. We're going to hear it behind us real quick. That's a B52 live running down the runway at Edwards.
So let's take after this. We got to watch it take off. I mean, we can't break away from this shot.
No,
it's
we
too
can't.
good.
No, we can't.
It's too good.
It is, and it's been too good for going on 70+ years. It's just an amazing plane.
Wow. Now that's the way to get your day started, Chief.
5-2 heavy contact.
It's a great shot.
Oh wow.
That's heavy right there. Talking on the radio, switching the tower.
It is. It really is. And for those of you hearing in our microphones, it's over our left shoulder right now, blasting off into the skies over the Aerospace Valley. And it's taking off to enter the holding pattern, and you're going to see that all along the east route throughout the rest of the morning and early in the afternoon.
So let's take a look at our schedule of events for today. We've got a lot of activities there. As the opening ceremonies about ready to kick off with the U.S. Air Force Academy Wings of Blue, and then you can see there where the first flights will start to arrive, and we'll update you throughout the broadcast on where the aircraft that are flying today are going to be shown. Let's take a look at some of the planes you might be seeing above your house today. And, sir, another great lineup.
Fantastic lineup. Test Pilot School's crewing our T38 Talons today. The venerable F16 Fighting Falcon, a near and dear to my heart airplane, flown by another one of my squadrons here. We got a Hornet from NASA, the B52 that you just saw take off. C17's not only doing the route, but also dropping off the Wings of Blue here today, and then returning them home in time for dinner, which is just another great thing in the Air Force. Unfortunately, we were unable to generate that Stratotanker lift, but it is often seen in the skies here. NASA's contributing the C-20, and then we're going to wrap it up with a King Air in the form of a C-12.
And let's take a look at where they're actually going to fly today. And unlike yesterday, it was towards a westerly route. Today, more of the east.
It is. So they're going to leave the restricted area that's literally above us where we're sitting right now, Dan. They're going to go out over basically California 14 in the vicinity of Rosemont and Willow Springs Racetrack, and then they're going to flow south.
So Aris is a C17 taking off runway right now.
The temporary flight restrictions that are there to protect folks fighting fires move east a little bit over Victorville, Hesperia, Apple Valley, and then from there go up over Fort Irwin, Ridgecrest, our neighbors to the north at Channel Lake, and then end the route there. As a bonus, most of these aircraft that are based at Edwards, when they return and finish that route, they're going to be doing tower flybys again, Dan, today, right by us at high speed.
Okay, so we are streaming live on Facebook. We're on Twitch. We're on YouTube. So make sure you join us. If you got a question, 507-339-7836. That's the number that you can text us at. We're rushing through here because we're about ready to pitch it to the Air Force Academy Wings of Blue narrator for today, Cadet First Class Kit Rieger, as the Wings of Blue are going to get us started, and then we'll have the national anthem for this day 2 of flying at the Aerospace Valley Air Show, a hybrid edition. And I don't see them yet. So there you can see on the screen where we're actually streaming. And so let's throw it to the Wings of Blue.
So some people might be new to the stream. Streaming Edwards Air Force Base live stream Aerospace Valley Air Show, but the difference is I have the air traffic control going on in the background. As long as they're in the area, I'll be able to hear them. So you'll get an insight on how the comms are working. But I have the live stream from Edwards playing. Make sure you go like their site on Facebook, Edwards Air Force Base on Facebook, and you'll be able to see on there, put in questions you want in the chat, and so on. So hopefully you enjoy, and sit back and relax.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Cadet First Class Kit Rieger, and it is my privilege to narrate for you a precision free-for-all demonstration brought to you by your United States Air Force parachute team, the Wings of Blue. The aircraft being used in today's demonstration is a C-17 from McCourt Air Force Base in Washington. The drop zone control officer for today's demonstration is Master Sergeant Joshua Thompson from Camarillo, California. Master Sergeant Thompson has over 4,000 jumps to his credit. Assisting his ground crew for today's demonstration is Cadet First Class Matthew Vitikin from St. Charles, Illinois. Matt has 606 jumps to his name and serves as the squadron commander for Cadet Squadron 4. Today you will witness a demonstration of precision airmanship excellence performed by an elite group of parachutists consisting of cadets, non-commissioned officers, and DoD personnel from your United States Air Force. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention overhead where you will notice our aircraft, the C-17, on jump run for the first and only pass in today's demonstration.
Jumpers away.
On this pass, jumpers will exit the aircraft at an altitude
Jumpers
of
away.
5,000 feet. And there they go. Our jumpers have exited the aircraft and are accelerating towards the grounds at speeds in excess of 120 miles per hour. Our jumpers maintain visual contact with each other and pull their parachutes simultaneously. At this time, all jumpers have successfully deployed their main parachutes and are setting up for precision landings in the target area that you see before you.
Everyone able, sir, be a left turnout for a left.
The Wings of Blue was founded in 1964, 50 years ago, by a group of renegade cadet skydivers. We are proud to represent the United States Air Force and the Air Force Academy at demonstrations such as this one. Each year, the Wings of Blue perform at more than 50 special events, displaying their intricate aerial skills for more than 2 million spectators, jumping into events that include NCAA football, NFL, MLB games, and air shows around the world. The other half of the Wings of Blue is the competition team. The competition team has 21 cadets who compete in two-way, four-way, six-way, and accuracy landing competitions. Two-way, four-way, six-way. You'll notice that our jumpers have now deployed their flags. Today we're jumping the 5 service flags of the 4 DoD services and the Coast Guard. Our first jumper down today will be Lieutenant Colonel Drew Judkins. Lieutenant Colonel Judkins is a C-130 pilot and the 98th Flying Training Squadron Director of Operations. The second jumper down in today's demonstration will be Lieutenant Colonel Matt Hepp. Lieutenant Colonel Hepp is an F-16 pilot and hails from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Today he'll be flying the flag of the U.S. Army. Our third jumper down today will be Cadet First Class Tyler Daly from Leesburg, Virginia. Today, Cadet Daly will be bringing in the United States Marine flag. Following Tyler will be Cadet First Class Danny Flynn from Bedford, New Hampshire. Danny's flying the flag of the United States Navy.
We'll be entering a left downwind for runway
Following
23,
Cadet Flynn, we have
Edwards,
Cadet First Class
Edwards
Remington Vale from
3800.
Tucson, Arizona, carrying the flag of the Air Force. And following Remington, we have Cadet First Class Creston Martin carrying the flag of the United States Coast Guard. Our seventh jumper down in today's demonstration is Cadet First Class Jason Schultz, an economics major from Cadet Squadron 28.
School 2-1 flight, Edwards down runway 23 left.
Now eyes to the sky as you'll see Cadet First Class Marcus Ross dropping 800 square feet of pure American freedom. Cadet Ross has 595 jumps to his credit and is an electrical and computer engineering major and an aspiring pilot. He'd like to give a warm shout out to his mom and dad watching online. Marcus brings the flag as an aerial salute to the nation's heroes.
Tower Coho 52 is on downwind. Wonder if we can
Assistant Cadet Ross and singing today's national anthem is Miss Rachel Bradshaw. Rachel graduated with honors from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University with a degree in aerospace engineering. Give it up for Miss Rachel Bradshaw.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? the land of
I just heard the sonic boom over here.
and the home of the brave.
Another inspiring arrival by the Wings of Blue, and a little sonic boom to start
Perfectly
your
timed
day.
sonic boom. Yep.
Loved it. Yeah, that's two F-16s pushing a lot of power out front.
A gorgeous shot of the Edwards Air Force Base flight line. And gentlemen, I know it's a sight that you see every day, but for those watching the broadcast, you know, being at an Air Force Base, wherever it is always interesting, and it's our mission, it's our profession, it's what we do, the profession of arms, but it's still inspiring, and it's a joy and a privilege to be able to bring this to the public today.
It is absolutely a privilege to do so. You know, that shot looking down the flat line, if we had not been in the middle of the pandemic, that flat line today literally would have been packed with 10,000 plus people. But because we couldn't get you on the base, we decided to take what's on the base out to you. We're broadcasting live, streaming live, and you're going to see the airplanes over you. At its core, my primary focus, and really the military's primary focus in doing air shows and public open houses, is displaying to the public that there's an opportunity for you in the services, specifically in our case, the Air Force and the United States Space Force. And one of the ways that you get into our service is an interest or some type of an aspiration to do a science or an engineering or math or something in the technology fields. You're going to hear us use the word STEM, but I really want to drive home how important science, technology, engineering, and math is to our service and to our department, and especially in the birth of the new Space Force.
And if you have questions for us, you saw the number flash up on your screen, but it's 507-339-7836. You can also comment across our social media platforms and leave a comment. We'll try to get to as many as we can as you look at that beautiful C-17 Globemaster. Made its maiden voyage in 1991.
C-17 is an amazing airplane. It's a great example of what happens when you have a very well-defined requirement. You tell a bunch of very smart folks from the science, technology, and engineering backgrounds, all using the language of math, go fill that requirement on behalf of the warfighter. I've got close family members that have been aircrew pilots on the C-17, and I've got lots of time personally riding in the back and up in the cockpit. Chief, I suspect you also have a couple hours sitting on a C-17 in your time.
I've got a lot of time on the C-17, and it's just it's a great aircraft. It's actually a workhorse for this base because anything they want to see, can we push it out of an aircraft and see what happens, including the Orion capsule for NASA, it's usually the C-17 that gets that work done.
You see it there. I actually jumped out of C-17, believe it or not.
I believe it.
Who would do that? Who would jump out of a perfectly safe aircraft and fly, other than the Wings of Blue, of course?
Yeah, so Wings of Blue will have to do that with one more person next time for the new Space Force flag. But I think they take pride that their takeoffs are more than their landings, but I don't as a pilot.
So a gorgeous day, and we've got a full lineup. And let's show that route map again, just so folks know where you might be able to catch the air show live out. And sir, if you can go back through that route again.
Yeah, you bet. The center of the route there is Edwards Air Force Base, and the aircraft are going to go to the west, basically over California Route 14, City of Rosamond, and the Wheel Springs Raceway area, and then they're going to flow south over Lancaster and Palmdale, turning back to the east just north of California 138, Paraboss Highway, tracking over to the Hesperia Apple Valley part of the larger Aerospace Valley before they go to the northeast towards the National Training Center, Fort Irwin. They're going to make a left turn to point up to the Ridgecrest area and Channel Lake to our north, and then they're going to finish pointed back down to Rogers Dry Lake Bed. Many of the aircraft finishing with what we call a tower flyby, which is one of my favorite parts of flying and also observing aircraft in flight.
So, Chief, all week long we've had activities that have been virtual and online, and really a first-of-its-kind hybrid air show, and taking this air show to the community. As you see, a beautiful shot of a couple of T38C Talons on the flight line here at Edwards. But, Chief, you know, the value of STEM education, not only at the high school or college levels, but even going deeper down to even the elementary school level. there really is a lot of value in it, and those are skills that are desperately going to be needed, not just today, tomorrow, but well into the future when it comes to aerospace and the test and evaluation things that you're doing here at Edwards.
No, that's correct, and that expands not just to test and to the Air Force, but into the entire Department of Defense. Bringing children early and teaching them those skills, and not just one of those skills, but being able to do additive manufacturing and design and adding any sort of software development at the same time. You're going to see software development almost every other career field, just because you're going to need to use computers to solve a problem, and you can either outsource that to someone else or solve that problem yourself. And so as you start aggregating those skills all together, you're going to see some beautiful things happen.
And I think it's really worth pointing out, I think a lot of times maybe it's a little misleading, like, oh, we just really need that to fly the airplanes, but our enlisted specialties in the Air Force, probably the most educated enlisted force in the history of the...
52, it appears there is a crew there. Continue taxi.
Echo 52, continue taxi.
Uh-oh. What's happening? Oh, there it is.
And now as we build up the Space Force, but our
so if you have any, you think something, the audio-wise, if something is higher than the other one, just let me know, and I'll change it. Just let me know if the air traffic control audio is too loud or the air show is not loud enough. Just let me know, and I'll change it.
One of our sergeants with a degree in game design, and he's using that to solve problems not only in COVID, but to build virtual reality solutions for not only his unit, but for all of ATC. And you can't throw a rock without hitting a brilliant enlisted member who's making the mission happen here every day, and it's just getting better.
And yesterday you brought up a meeting that you had with your EOD team. They were doing some really cool stuff.
Yes, sir, that's correct. So our EOD is working with a couple of startups out in the valley, and what they're doing is putting sensors in some of their workout wear, and then testing exactly how their muscles are fatiguing at different levels of stress and in different training evolutions to see, can we predict when they're going to have an issue? Can we predict how much training we're going to need to do? And so all of that, it sounds pretty simple, but when you look at all the mechanical engineering and the electrical engineering that goes into that, and then added into the predictive analytics, the artificial intelligence, the software design, in order to take all that big data and actually make sense of it, so someone like the general can actually gain insight and then make a decision, there's a lot at play there.
I could not be more proud of the folks that I get to learn from every day. There is a phrase that I use a lot, and it'll hit me, and I'll go, I learned that today. 9 times out of 10, what I learned today, I learned from one of the enlisted members of the 412 Test Wing or the larger Team Edwards. Oftentimes, it's in their main career specialty or their main career field, but probably just a minor, just below half of the time, it's something that they have an interest in that may not be directly related. Truly inspiring individuals with some great life aspirations and goals, and I get the pleasure to work with them, and Chief also gets the pleasure to work with them every day.
Yeah, and not to mention just the broad sense, there's so many career fields in the Air Force that one can either enlist or work towards a path to become an officer, and even the civilian service. So we're going to talk about all those great things, because each individual, whether they're serving as an enlisted airman, as an officer, or a big A airman, as we like to call it, as a civilian, even our contractors that help us accomplish our mission, everybody has value and what they bring to the table. We just can't do it without them.
Yeah, we can't. We literally can't do it without them. And so let me talk to you about some really cool airmen that a lot of people may not know. They are literally standing behind the cameras that we're looking at right now. We have enlisted airmen that are public affairs specialists, cameramen, audio, things like that, and they are a small career field, but a high impact career field, and they help us communicate and partner with folks in the television industry and the movie industry. And there's a good example of that partnership literally on the table with us right now.
Absolutely, and I'm going to bring in Chief to really go deep down into this, but on the table right here in front of us, we actually have a movie prop from the Captain Marvel film that was in part filmed here at Edwards, and it's pretty cool. So it's right here, and for those who are big fans of Captain Marvel, you might recognize this as Brie Larson's helmet from the movie.
Yeah, that's correct. So we had, if you look at this flight line as you're seeing these videos and you go, you know what, I've seen that somewhere before, you probably saw it. You saw it in Iron Man, you saw it in Transformers, you saw it in Captain Marvel. Hangar 1600, our large hangar, is iconic in movies, and Hollywood's just down the street from us, and so when they're looking for an Air Force base to actually highlight and tell the story of the Air Force, Edwards is one of the prime locations to do that. And so good portions of Captain Marvel were filmed here. If you remember correctly, Captain Marvel was a test pilot. You're not going to put her in something like that, in that kind of aircraft, unless it is a test pilot. And so after the movie was done, the entire cast signed that helmet right there. They signed 2 of them. One went to the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, and the other came to Edwards Air Force Base, where it sits proudly in our headquarters office. And that is a piece of her uniform and her chest plate. And so it's just one of the many things. You can go with the right stuff. There's a million other movies that happened at some place in Edwards or on our air base, and it's just a great connection and a great opportunity for us to tell the Air Force story.
And you mentioned Hangar 1600. We actually have a little more background on Hangar 1600. Let's take a look. Oh, I'm being told they don't have it. Okay, well, I guess we won't take a look right now. But you mentioned that iconic Hangar 1600, and so many. In fact, the building that we're sitting right outside of base operations, we talked about it yesterday, but it was also part of the Iron Man shooting as the Stark Industries headquarters building.
Yes, sir. You walk through there, and you can see they changed everything just a little bit to make it look right for Hollywood, but the building that our airmen show up to every single day was in Iron Man. It's part of Stark Industries, and it will be forever. And it's an awesome location to highlight everything our airmen are doing. You know, we talked about our 3 Novembers, our public affairs troops, but really they're the storytellers.
Hey, what's up, Austin from Texas? It's kind of interesting. But what part of Texas you watching from?
Feel a sense of pride that they are a part of this nation and part of this Air Force.
And here we go. We're seeing some T38 Talons launch into the Edwards sky, sir.
Love it. So that was a formation takeoff of 2 T38s. Probably being
the Alliance Air Show. I'm from Dallas area, so I would always go to the Alliance Air Show.
Takes a little bit of training,
and I don't know if they're going to do a live one. I think they might be doing a actual air show over at Alliance, but I'm not sure.
And the pilot of the wingman aircraft is literally watching to his or her side on when to rotate, when to raise the gear, and how to do configuration changes. Just a great example of how to get airplanes off the ramp quickly, and really building the fundamental, one of the fundamental building blocks.
Nice. Plano. Plano's a nice area. It's pretty cool. I'm from Arlington. So if you guys are new, just let me know if something's too loud or something's too soft. Just let me know, and I'll adjust accordingly. As you can hear this flight of 2 taking off.
A workhorse, and pretty much just about every pilot, with the exception maybe of the folks who go fly the heavies, end up flying the T38 in undergraduate pilot training.
There was a period of time where the T38, everyone flew it as they graduated from pilot training, and probably 20, 25 years ago, we decided that there are certain skill sets that are better taught and better learned in different types of airplanes, and we divided pilot training after initial into specialized tracks. And still to this day, all of our fighter and bomber pilots fly the T38 before they get their wings. Some of those pilots become test pilots that don't fly T38s, and when they come back to test pilot school, we send them to your neck of the woods down in San Antonio.
And that'll be Foxtrot right in front of you, but Echo.
Oh no, you'll be in Fort Wayne. Oh yeah, the air show's pretty cool. But if you don't have to crank up your speakers, I could turn it up here. I don't want it to be too loud. But yeah, just let me know how the audio is.
For bringing all the imagery that you're seeing during this live broadcast, and the F16 Falcon is our next aircraft to get ready to go. This is I
think the last time I went to the air show, Austin, was 2000. Let's see, 2012 air show. That was the last one I went at Alliance Airfield, Alliance Airport.
And counting, I think, is the important thing to say. It never gets old. The 2 ship you're going to see take off will probably not do what's called a max performance climb, but those are by far my favorite.
Yes, it's very fun. I love it. Since then, went to air show at Tyndall.
Maybe I'm just going to make a broad
went to one at Langley. Here in LA area, over at
I think it depends on who the commander is.
Fox Field, went to the air show there, and Nellis as well, and they're really cool. I love air shows. Here planes taking off right now.
The 2 airframes, and so I'm not a pilot. I won't pick one, but I think one of the
really Thunderbirds, Blue Angels, they're the best.
There's other F-16 bases in the Air Force, but
Precision is awesome, and they're great. Love it. Love watching them every single time. Never gets old, even though it's the same maneuvers and same schedule. Never gets old.
There's models that there's only one or two of it in existence, and then there's other models that we've had to modify ourselves in order to make sure a certain test happens, so it may stay modified.
And that sneak pass gets me every single time.
And so these are things that our maintenance professionals are working with, and complexities that they don't deal with at any other base, which is why I'd put any of our maintenance airmen against any other airmen for any sort of competition, because they just have such a wide range of knowledge on these aircraft and all the things you can do with them.
Yeah, you're looking at 2 U.S. Air Force F-16s there, and a couple things that people don't realize that our enlisted airmen do is that when we test a new airplane at Edwards Air Force Base, we're not just testing the airplane, but we're also testing the technical orders with which we maintain them. And that's a core specialty that one of the squadrons here in our maintenance group does. That is almost an exclusive maintenance squadron. They validate those tech orders and provide updates. They're also the same experts that when something happens in the field and a maintenance person says, I have no idea what to do here, they call in us as the crisis team to help them pave the way to get that airplane back to full mission capability. Another thing that's on the ramp behind me is this is the place where we do a lot of testing of coalition and partner aircraft. We have 2 programs literally on the ramp right now from allied nations, one a little bit east of us and one a little bit west of us. So it's just a great place if you enjoy diversity of aircraft to work on.
Same thing with test pilot school, allied nations attending and putting test pilots through, and then taking that knowledge back to their home country and building that connection with us. It's really great to see.
And I just kind of wanted to bring out, as you see, another great shot of the flight line and the, I don't know, is that the San Gabriel Mountains in the background? I'm not sure, but just a gorgeous shot, such iconic scenery here. But General Heiger.
Oh, on the radar, I see it's a C17 and then a is that a B20, so it's C12. So C17 and C12 are coming up on ADSB.
Favorite part about your career.
One's at 9,000 feet, just about. And then the other one's at, let's see, what's he at? 11,000. So they're orbiting around over here.
Of your career, what stands out to you?
U2.
Too many things historically
cool.
For me to pick out one. I will tell you, much like the people that you're watching there in Palmdale, looking at a U2, I have always been fascinated with just airplanes in general, asking the questions of why and how, and getting to combine that curiosity with an education in engineering, and then actually doing it for the first time as a test pilot is super important. I have been asked many, many times, hey, what's your favorite airplane? And my answer is always the same. The next one I get to fly.
And I just bring it up just for conversations, but you actually build your own airplanes, from what I understand.
Well, I don't have a fleet yet, but I did on the side, and my lovely spouse at home and my boss were both willing to cut me off a little time to finish a project that was on my bucket list. And yeah, I completed building an airplane this year.
As you see the F-16s taking off and a little sound of freedom.
Afterburner takeoff, love it. Rosamond, they're coming your way. 2 F-16s on the route.
So we're underway. So
yep, Austin, me too. Love planes, love flying, love everything about it.
Of the Aerospace Valley Air Show, Dan Hawkins alongside Brigadier General Matt Heiger and the Command Chief, Chief Eishen for the 412 Test Wing.
So this F-16, it's going to have the route right here. So it takes off here, goes over Lancaster, Palmdale, Hesperia, Apple Valley, goes around. That's the route for everything.
You get a shot over
here, they're in Palmdale now.
Again, we've got cameras out in Palmdale today, as well as out at the Fort Irwin National Training Center.
So I'm squinting in and looking at it. It looks like a U-2 with a chase plane, and I'm guessing that chase plane is a Gulfstream, but that's a guess at this point. Really a neat opportunity for us to see what the partners in the Aerospace Valley bring to the world of test and evaluation and research exploration via aircraft. The U-2s do high-altitude research on behalf of NASA, and there's another NASA jet, one of the Hornets, the F-18s, that are actually fly off the Edwards ramp. NASA will have a representative here as a guest in a little while, but those 3 aircraft that you just saw, their Gulfstream, their U-2, and their Hornet, complement a very broad aircraft, I'll say, bullpen. They also have something as large as a 747, where they go out and they literally look at the stars.
The Sophia bird.
Absolutely.
And
oh, nice. Yeah, in Addison. I went to the one over here in California, over near Oxnard.
They can.
Pretty cool museum. Haven't been in the one in Addison yet. Next time I go home, I'll make sure to do that. There's a lot of aviation museums I missed.
Deliver that kinematic effect on the enemy.
So, just in case you're wondering, as you get a shot there of the F18 Hornet here on the flight line at Edwards Air Force Base, getting ready to taxi and take off. But if you have a question and you'd like to ask General Higer or the Chief or any of our guests today, you can give us a shout on social media on any of our platforms, as well as you can text it in at the number 507-339-7836. You see it right there on your screen. And General Higer, I think you're up for Ask Me Anything almost, right?
Yeah, there's if I can answer it, I will. If I can't, I won't. And if there's a way we can get another expert online to get it to you real time, we certainly will. I'll tell you, one of the things that this pandemic has driven us to do is to think innovatively and think agilely.
A nice kaboom. I didn't know what that was, so I had to look it up.
Chief and I
So Kaboom Town is the like a air show and fireworks, and
town halls to the local population.
That's sweet.
In a publicly facing website every Friday for the duration of the pandemic. And so this interaction is not ideally what we'd like. I'd much rather talk to folks in person and see their feedback. But having that consistency and the willingness for you, the enterprise and the populace and our community engage with us is a really important and very valuable thing.
So when you think about the mission of Edwards, sir, how would you kind of encapsulate it? What does Edwards do for our nation and our Air Force?
At a very high level, Edwards is a place where we take an idea and see if it meets the realities of physics at a very high level. There are other domains as well, but that's primarily what we do here at Edwards. To make
that
happen,
Gulfstream,
thousands of folks,
NASA Gulfstream,
contractor, military,
line over Lancaster, took off from Palmdale.
That mashup, that community actually is a very fertile environment for a culture of, well, why do we have to do it that way, or why can't we do it a different way? And so innovation, being agile, and trying to break a barrier and explore into the unknown is really what Edwards is all about.
I'd like to add on that one, sir. You know, you look at most of the things that we're doing, everything was a barroom napkin. If you have a barroom and napkin idea and it has something to do with aviation, more than likely you're going to put it at Edwards and see if we can make it possible. If then it's possible, we then figure out how to make it safe, and then it does not go out to the rest of the Air Force until we know exactly how safe it is, where it's going to get dangerous, and where the risk is going to be. So that
oh yeah, virtual. Wow, lots of virtual air shows this year. We were trying to go to the one. Well, looking forward to the one coming here. I live on base, so that'll be pretty sweet. But went virtual now. I haven't been to back any museums either.
Edwards with the prefix X in it. X1, X15.
I think some of the museums are good for outdoors. If they have planes outdoors, you're good to go outdoors. When it comes to inside, you can't go inside.
Something different and see if it has some capability. But just like all other research we're learning, when we think that learning is enough that we want to try and weaponize it or operationalize it, we build a prototype. And a prototype is typically identified by a Y. So think YF-117, YF-22, those types of aircraft. And then after that's done and the prototype is ready to be produced, we make it a C or an F or other type of designation.
That's just a gorgeous shot of a NASA F18. I mean, the smiles on Chief and General Higer's face, I just can't describe it.
Yeah, I tell you, it is hard to get a lot of work done in my office. It overlooks the flight line, and when the windows are open, there's a lot of noise as well. So it's a fantastic view that we are.
Oh yeah, now that you mentioned it, I remember looking at that too. So you watch from your car.
We hope to get the public back on
I think that's an innovative idea to do do Still be able to feel the airplane, because that's the biggest thing, to feel the engines, hear the sounds, smell the smells. So that's good they're doing a drive-in.
It is. Over the skies that these aircraft are literally flying through right now, 73 years ago on the 14th. The X1 broke the sound barrier for the first time. 2 years from now, we'll have a big 75th anniversary celebration of that. It'll also be a celebration for the Air Force. And this weekend, I'll say the holiday weekend in October, is a really important weekend for the Valley for that primary reason, but it's a really important weekend for the nation as a whole. If we know, and you know, that there's always something going on in the Aerospace Valley around the holiday weekend in October, come out and visit, whether it's virtually or in real life or IRL. We're going to have something next year in 2021 in partnership with the LA County Air Shows organization, where we'll support them as they have supported us in the past. And then in 2022, for the 75th anniversary of the supersonic flight, we'll have hopefully another large open house where everyone's got their vaccinations and the pandemic is at bay.
And I think for a lot of people watching, they may think, oh, they're doing an air show at Edwards. That's really cool. But Edwards is really just one part of a very large aerospace ecosystem here in the valley.
Absolutely. So it's
air shows are a must. Air shows are neat. Well, it's just like NASCAR. Speaking of NASCAR, I went to the Red Bull Air Races a couple years back in Fort Worth when they had Red Bull, and it was at the Fort Worth Motor Speedway, and that was awesome.
Happening today in aerospace are just so exciting. It goes all the way down to Space Park in Los Angeles, out to Vandenberg, up to and include China Lake, and then everything that's happening in our close aboard neighbors here at the Mojave Air and Spaceport, where we have aircraft going to and from space, and we have Virgin Launch happening out there as well. We're partners with them and have helped them also. The other item that we've been doing here locally is a lot of partnering for decades between the mission partners at Air Force Plant 42, and we are fortunate enough to later today to have the director of Plant 42 here to talk a little bit more about that part of the Air Force mission in the Valley, along with our mission partners down there, the big ones being NASA, government, Boeing, Lockheed, and Northrop Grumman. There's just so much in the aerospace areas within 50, 7,500 miles of here, and Edwards is right in the thick of it, both culturally and also geographically. And that's primarily because there's this lake bed just behind us, Rogers Dry Lake Bed, that I have heard of many people describe as a heavenly gift.
Not mistaken, I think they stopped Red Bull Air Race.
And to space travel.
I remember I was pretty sad.
Travel, yes, absolutely. So I certainly remember as a younger person watching the shuttle land, roll out on the runways here and also land on the lake beds. And when you fly over the lake beds here, you get to see those aim point markings that the shuttle pilots in glider mode would glide back in and do exceptional touchdowns and roll out on their return from space.
Yeah, we still have that tower sitting on the lake bed, the one that was built for that initial shuttle launch. So I believe the president could stand there and actually, monitor what was going on and see everything. And so you can't go anywhere on this base without hearing or seeing some sort of historic landmark to aviation sometime in the last 70 years.
And I think it really speaks to that innovation culture that exists not just in the Air Force, I think, but in that aviation blood in general.
It does. There's an Inexplorata phrase on the Air Force Test Center patch, and it's into the unknown or into the unexplored. And that isn't just a motto. It's actually what we do. It's what we are. It's not what we're charged to do, but it's really what's in our. It's core to our culture. It's what all of the individuals are, and it's what the teams are built and structured around. We have a unique structure of personnel where we can flow expertise to the programs and projects that it needs, independent of who they formally work for. And that type of fluidity and where do you need the expertise and the talent is a nature. It's valuable and valid in warfare, and it's also valid and valuable in test.
And what started on the aviation side has quickly turned into our test security forces squadron, our test EOD professionals, our test maintenance squadron. There is not one squadron on this base that's not performing tests in some form or fashion for their functional community, just to see if it'll work. And we have we do a really good job of critical risk management to make sure that we can do dangerous things and do it safely. And so we test those here and then push them to the rest of the Air Force and the rest of the airmen.
Yeah, one of the questions we get about test a lot is, to be a tester, do I have to be an officer? And the answer is absolutely not. We have enlisted aircrew that are test professionals, but we also have something called the TPP. Chief, you want to talk about that real fast?
Yes, sir. We've got our test parachute team. And so our test parachute team is mainly SEER professionals and a few riggers across the Air Force, and they test new loads. You see people going out into combat and they're wearing a new helmet or they're carrying a new type of rug. Somebody had to test that to make sure that it was safe, to see what the load could handle, and that is our test parachute team here at Edwards. It's the only test parachute team in the Air Force, and they're doing great things for all of our battlefield airmen and all of our warfighters downrange.
And that's a completely enlisted force doing that task, and they are testing things like the parachutes that the Wings of Blue folks jump under, not just in combat, but also for demonstrations of what the Air Force is capable of doing.
Okay, sir,
and those little pockets that Chief mentioned are not just limited to the flight line here on the installation either. We have test spots and innovative culture that happen in our medical professionals and in our force support squadrons, the taking care of airmen folks and leading the way and plowing new ground. So there you're looking at a live shot over Palmdale, California of a two-ship. I can't quite make it out. Maybe if my eyes were a little younger I could, but you can see a lot of folks out looking at it as well.
So we actually have a couple of questions starting to roll in. So Nathan from Palmdale High, he wants to know, how long do you have to practice to fly a jet?
How long do you have to practice to fly a jet? I think the answer is you're never done practicing flying a jet. So let me give you, Nathan, first of all, let me commend you for thinking about that. Flying an aircraft, no matter what the aircraft is very much not like driving a car. It's a three-dimensional space. There's a lot of rules that apply there. And there's also a lot of basic what we call stick and rudder skills. And those you have to learn and practice and become proficient at. And once you become proficient at that, you have to...
We got the B52 just flew over my house at Edwards. Very distinct sound, the B52.
The same hour 200 times. It's very, very different things that you do when you're learning how to fly high-performance aircraft. And then after that, anytime you transition into a new airplane, there's some type of a formal syllabus. Hours, depending on your experience, range from the low teens up into the 50, 60 or more hours as you learn to fly a new airplane. But it's also important for me, Nathan, to highlight that what you're observing these aircraft do over your house and your neighborhood today, and what I've spoken about already, is the flying of the airplane, the takeoff, a landing, and approach, just the basics. But we actually spend an incredible amount of time and effort as a military, and certainly as an Air Force, employing or learning how to use the aircraft as a weapon system. And that is actually the hardest and the most perishable of all the skills that I think you'll get from all combat aviators.
And we had a question about what time the aircraft might be over Barstow. So a little after 11:30, you should start seeing some aircraft in your neck of the woods, whoever asked that question. And, sir, we got a question for you again. What's your favorite jet to fly and why?
So my favorite jet to fly, I've kind of already answered that question. My favorite jet to fly is the next one I get to fly. Every aircraft has something that's very unique and very exciting about it, without exception. Like I said, I am biased to my first high-performance airplane, and that was the F16, and it is it's very comfortable going back and flying that beast. But she is quite a machine, and she is still very capable. From what is my favorite jet if I could fly any in the world? That's a question I'm not sure I could answer. But maybe I'll answer by saying all of them, including the ones that I haven't had a chance to experience yet. One of the most unique things that graduates of Air Force Test Pilot School get to do is we get to do, even after we've graduated, this program that we refer to as a qualitative evaluation. And it's continued professional development or continuation training, and we are in partnership with other organizations around the world and around the nation. We continue to fly new and different airplanes to us. So as a graduate of the school, I went to the United Kingdom, and I got a flight in a Jaguar over there. Really just a neat airplane. Another jet that I added to the resume. And the thing that I found fascinating about that was there I am flying over the Scottish Highlands at altitudes below which I normally fly an F-16, and the confidence and the skills gained doing that helped me do testing better when I came back and did F-16 at those same altitudes and speeds later in my career.
And you get a gorgeous shot there of the C17 here at Edwards. Just a beautiful image there. And returning back from its flight, I can't get enough of that.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's actually the C17. That C17 has been working for us the last couple of days. It dropped the wings of blue yesterday. It dropped the wings of blue this morning, and then it literally just landed and picked them up. And the cadet jump team is on that airplane, and it's going to deliver them back to Colorado Springs so they can have dinner at home, and then they're going to fly from the wings of blue.
And I'm delighted now, as well as General Heiger, to be joined by the commander of the Air Force Test Center, Major General Christopher Azzano. Sir, how are you?
I am fine, Dan. Thanks very much for having me here today. This is a fantastic show, and I want to thank you for your role in it. And I especially want to thank and congratulate General Heiger and the team here at the 412 Test Wing for pulling off what is the first air show in America in the COVID environment, and quite possibly the only one. So great job, General Heiger, and to your whole team. Thanks for having me.
So from one fellow Purdue grad to another, sir, I want to say we're really glad.
If you're watching on here, this is a stream of the
so,
video. So if you want to watch the video or the stream and ask questions, go here for Facebook.
Well, it really is an amazing place.
And you could ask questions in this chat.
34 geographic locations.
But it's the same thing. I'll just be recording their side of it, and then I just have air traffic control audio on my thing. But if you want to ask questions, go to their website on, as I said, they're streaming on Facebook and Twitch and YouTube. And this is the Facebook link where you can ask questions in the comments down there, and they'll be able to answer them.
In the future that we see in defending our nation. But we also have some incredible Americans working at other places across the country. The Air Force Test Center has a wing down at Eglin Air
But yes,
Force
welcome,
Base on the
Edgar.
Gulf Coast.
Glad to have you here.
Is primarily responsible for doing weapons testing as well as some command and control testing. Everything that involves a communication back and forth between the various nodes of a combat environment. They do that. They've got a great wing with a great legacy and wonderful people. We also have a very impressive wing at Arnold Air Force Base in Tennessee, in Middle Tennessee, and they're responsible for doing a lot of the risk reduction, technical risk reduction for future systems like hypersonic weapons. Extraordinary technology, and frankly, it's uncertain how quickly we're going to be able to advance that technology. But this team, with their wind tunnels and their ability to create intense temperatures and pressures, they are proving materials now and future aerodynamic shapes that are going to constitute a hypersonic capability for America in the future. That and a lot of our cyber activity that occurs at Eglin Air Force Base. We also have a squadron in San Antonio, Texas, that today is working on cyber techniques for the warfighter of today and in the future. It's just an exciting place to work. It's an honor to lead these great Americans.
I'll tell you what, sir, I know I'm a little biased to the 412, but one of the neatest things you have in your enterprise is within a couple miles of each other, Air Force Test Center organizations have both the fastest place in the Western world, maybe the world, and also the quietest, all in the same test enterprise at or near Holloman.
Absolutely. Yeah, Holloman is another of our well-kept secrets, really one of the crown jewels. They do amazing work. Really one of our experimentation centers of excellence, the idea that we can do things really quickly if we take the shackles off and are really smart about how we manage risk, which, as you know, is fundamental. It's one of the core competencies of the test community.
I think that's the B52 flying over Palmdale there. So glad that folks could get out and see the aircraft today. Again, we got cameras out in Palmdale and Fort Irwin today, so still time to get out and see the aircraft. And sir, we'd be remiss if it's an air show. We've got to ask you, you've flown 35 different aircraft types. What's your favorite?
Well, I'm gonna take the easy way out and answer the same way that General Higer did. It really is the next airplane you're getting ready to fly. But I think it's safe to say that everybody kind of has a special place in their heart for their first aircraft. And my first aircraft in the Air Force after completing pilot training was the F-18E, the Strike Eagle, that's still doing great work around the globe today. So hats off to all the Strike Eagle drivers and the CISOs out there that are keeping America safe.
I kind of wanted to turn our attention to space a little bit, obviously with the buildup of the U.S. Space Force being a Department of the Air Force priority and the role of space continuing to expand with the actual stand-up now of the Space Force. What does space mean for the AFTC?
That's a great question, Dan, and frankly, it's really an exciting future that we're looking at now with space as an independent space force. A number of years ago, we realized that wars of the future would be fought in, through, and from space. And I think we also realized at that time that we had a lot of work to do to make sure that America could maintain space superiority. The test community saw that early, and everything that we do in the test community is typically a 3 to 5 year lead time for when our nation's actually going to need it. So we got on that really challenging problem set very early and brought the Space Force in. And we've been talking a lot about what they can do to develop their own unique task force to support all of space's objectives. And we are working with them now. We had a great summit last week where a lot of the space leaders were talking about how to structure their test community. And just recently, and I know you're going to hear from the Air Force Test Pilot School here in a few minutes, we selected the first cadre of candidates that are going to go through the Air Force Test Pilot School's Space Test Fundamentals course. It's an exciting time to be an AFTC, and it's an exciting time to start bringing space even more into the fold than they already are.
And I figured you guys would like this question. Phil from Palmdale says, a few minutes ago, the windows on the house rattled. Was that the sonic boom?
It certainly could have been the sonic boom. And if you live in the Aerospace Valley, it doesn't even faze you anymore. I tell you, I had a new person that works in the office with me, and she is from Georgia. And she's still getting accustomed to the sound that I don't even think phases somebody like General Zano with his tenure here or myself anymore. It's really just a reminder of how much and how often we are still working and doing. And we're not just breaking the sound barrier because we can and because it's available in the airspace, but there's a lot of work to be done in and around the speeds of that that transonic range as we prepare and we get ready to go even faster on a routine basis.
And we also had another comment or a question, are we going to fly any stealth aircraft today? Sadly, I don't think we are.
So the lineup that we showed earlier does not involve any low observable aircraft. I will tell you, the great news about having the air show this year hybrid is that much of that video from yesterday is around and available. We had F-35s fly the route yesterday as a two-ship demonstrating the 5th gen tactical combat power that we have fielded from Edwards and is now out literally downrange today as we speak here.
So, General Zano, I wanted to ask, looking into the future for the test center, what does 10 years from now look like when it comes to what you guys, there's so much happening at such a rapid pace as we accelerate change in our Air Force. The sand is moving underneath our feet as we speak.
Yeah, it sure is, Dan. And I think what you'll see in 10 years is a lot of things are going to be different than they are today. You'll see some different aircraft on the ramp. You'll see more F-35s, 5th gen aircraft. You'll see some T-7s. You'll see the Air Force doing a lot more with cyber, a lot more in the way we integrate space into the battlefield. Lots of exciting developmental work to do there. But the one thing that will not change is the quality of people who commit their lives to this profession and the pioneering spirit that has always characterized the test community. I think you're going to see that, and it's really exciting for people like General Higer and me to see all of the interest now, especially in STEM programs in junior highs and high schools around the country. These are young Americans that are excited about their future and what they can do with science and technology and mathematics. And so we're looking forward to having them graduate in a few years and join us, because that pioneering spirit is alive and well in America, and I think will always be characterized by the test community.
And staying on that STEM trail, you've got your bachelor's in aerospace engineering at Purdue. You got a master's degree from Stanford in aerospace engineering. What was it about STEM that really drew you in and made you want to explore it?
Well, I always loved technology. I always loved aviation from my from just about the earliest years that I can remember. Fascinated by airplanes. I also remember watching the lunar landing back when Neil Armstrong put his first footsteps on the moon, and the technology, but also the excitement of aviation and operating in an unknown environment has always been appealing to me. And to be able to see that play out over a 30-year career in the Air Force has been a real treat, a real gift.
And so Adam from Bakersfield, he's 12 years old, and his question is, how fast does the C17 fly? Because it looks so big and heavy, and have you flown one before?
So the maximum limit on the C17 is about 350 what we call knots. That's an aerodynamic limit based on the design of the aircraft. But something that size just doesn't seem to be moving as fast as. But trust me, the aircraft you're seeing online right there that was just beautifully highlighted in the background by a B52 in the same shot is really a powerful beast. And the range on it is very impressive too. So I hope that answers the question on how fast can it go. But the other question I'll highlight a little bit more about what you are able to participate in as a member of this community on Edwards Air Force Base and in the larger Air Force Test Center. I got to fly a C-17 Friday afternoon. I went up as what's called a qualitative observer and a supervisory role, and I got to participate in the practice jump, although I didn't jump out of the airplane. The Wings of Blue did. And then after they had departed, one of the instructor pilots from the 418th Flight Test Squadron, a shout out to that amazing group of professionals, put me through my paces in the right seat of that aircraft right there that you're watching.
And you should see it over Palmdale in about a couple of minutes. 11:30 is at least the listed time. So, General Lozano, when you think about science, technology, engineering, math, and how important it is as a career. What would be your advice for somebody who may be thinking, this could be something I'm interested in doing perhaps in the aerospace field?
So I would offer it's a very challenging career field. What we see time and again is that when you have an inherent interest in something like science and technology, what it really takes to light the fire there is applying it in a real-world situation that you're passionate about. And the engineers that we bring into the test center love aviation. They love space. They love cyber. And so going through it, what at times can be the academic, heavy academic course load, you always have to do that, I say, with the end in mind. So it's not just about studying physics and calculus and chemistry and everything else, mechanics, aerodynamics. It's about thinking about how you're going to apply that to an exciting career. Designing the airplane that you see on the screen there, the C17, which I've also had a chance to fly too. Big airplane, looks like it wouldn't be very maneuverable, but I'm sure General Higer would attest. It flies like a dream because of the scientists and engineers that designed that airplane, and it's going to be with us for many, many years. So keep that end goal in mind, and that's what will carry you through.
Okay. I'll tell you, Dan, and I suspect General Zano agrees with me here. One of the things that I didn't think about as I was entering a technological career field and the service, but I have noticed in spades, is that you can have a whole bunch of smart people, but I think what the Air Force Test Center in general and testers even broader than the test center have is that we understand how to build teams and collaborate across teams of very intelligent people, and having that collaborative relationship of highly inspired and highly intelligent folks is really what delivers the power that we deliver for the nation across contractors, government, civilians, active duty military members in the test organizations. And that has been a part of our secret sauce for years, and it will be a big part of our secret sauce going forward.
Hey Steve, checked out the Aero Club? Yeah. Yeah, private pilot's license was very rewarding. Cost a lot, but it was very rewarding. I do not regret it at all. And yeah, I would definitely have you check out more of the videos so you can understand what's going on and know what to expect when getting your private pilot's license. But thanks for being a watcher of the channel, and hopefully your PPL goes well, and hopefully you have a lot of fun.
I am inspired every day. And, you know, watching the Wings of Blue and how we've got some cadets that are dedicating their lives to these careers, watching them this morning at the early stages, it really is inspiring to see that kind of commitment out of Americans.
It truly is, and gets the heart going when you see people jumping out of perfectly.
Seems like we're about to have a beat the C12
out of Palmdale. Reminder: ask us questions.
Flyover. Seems like he's coming in.
Social media. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram.
So everybody knows that.
Everywhere you'd think we would be. You can text your questions to the number on the screen. We'll take
that C17 down there.
Got a question from Asparian Giselle. She says, how do I become a test pilot? She says, I'm currently in college. I'm a physics major and would love to go into aerospace.
Well, you are well on your way. You're getting a technical degree. That's fantastic. Study hard, do well, learn as much as you can. Then we need to turn you into an aviator as well. So if you want to become a test pilot in the military services, you could join any of the four for now, although we're looking at how we're going to define test professionals for the Space Force in the future. And then put that STEM degree to good use. Be the best possible aviator you can. All that probably starts where you are today in taking some private flying lessons. Build that aviation resume and your experience and comfort in flying in the air, which can be a very, at times, challenging environment. And then get that military experience as an aviator. And at some point, you will meet the requirements to apply to one of our formal training schools in the Air Force, the test pilot school that resides right here at Edwards Air Force Base.
Well, sir, we certainly appreciate your time and stopping by with us today, and great day for Air Power.
Thanks, Dan. It sure is. It's been wonderful to be here, and again, hats off to everybody, and thanks for everything that your team's done, General Higer. This is fantastic. We're very happy for you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks. Been a pleasure.
And so we continue here on day 2 of the Aerospace Valley Air Show Hybrid Edition as you get a shot of the C-17 flying not so big and slow over Palmdale. It's pretty sneaky.
It is. It'll get up on you, that's for sure. One of the one of the items that I think a lot of people don't realize about the C-17 is as a good low-level capability as well, not just high, long, and far. And that is fascinating to fly in an aircraft like that. I vividly remember a couple times being low-level and flying the aircraft, entering a bank, and naturally wanted to climb because the wings are so large, and you feel like the wingtips are going to scrape the ground as you do that turn, even though you know mathematically that's not going to happen. It's a neat airplane. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, but my first time on the ground in Afghanistan was
here comes C-12. We'll go outside and see if I can take a picture of it. I'll have this on my Facebook.
As they did a tactical approach in the base where we landed at night, and we stopped on a very short and very rough runway, and that was a great demonstration of the capability that aircraft has, unrefueled from Germany all the way into Afghanistan that night, just about a decade and a half ago for me.
And you just talked about the wide range of missions. You're not just putting simple cargo and people in there.
So there's the C12 flying over. Go outside and take a picture of it. Make sure you follow me on Facebook and Instagram, AviationPlusOne on both. I'll be having the pictures I have on those social media accounts. So I'm going to go outside real quick, be right back. Enjoy.
We don't always do that. There's good sea lift and other logistics to move it, but if you got to get it there fast, that is the way that our military can move a lot all around the world. We call it global reach for a reason, Dan.
And joining us on set now is the technical director of the United States Air Force Test Pilot School, Dave Vanoy. Dave, how are you?
I'm doing great, Dan. It's good to see you.
Yeah, welcome back. Day 2 still feels just as good as day 1, right?
Oh, just as good. It's a beautiful day, and I certainly hope all the folks across the Aerospace Valley are enjoying the sounds of freedom as we have some heavy iron and fast movers going across the valley, showing our gratitude, for their support. Like I mentioned, we are so thankful for their support. It's something that drives the folks here to work as hard as they do. We could not do our mission without the support of the people, support our mission, and their just unwavering support of the men and women in the uniform that are working 24/7, 365 around the country to protect our freedoms. So thank you, everybody. Hopefully you're enjoying the flybys today.
And I've only been in the area for a few days coming in from San Antonio for the air show, but really the love of Edwards and the love of aviation, you can just feel it everywhere you go.
So this is a special place, Dan. We talked about this a little yesterday. I remember, so I had the privilege of working very closely with Dave a couple assignments ago, and there was one night I was walking out of our office, and the sun had set on the ground, and I was walking to my Jeep with the NF-104 on a stick. If you've ever driven by Test Pilot School, you can see it. If not, I bet you can find it in many photos if you just Google it. But looking at the NF-104 in the foreground, the sun has just set on the ground, but a missile shot had just gone off out of Vandenberg, and that missile trail was in the sun. It was a really surreal moment. I snapped a picture, and I texted it to my good friend Dave, and I said, Dave, this is a special place.
Yeah, it certainly is, and there's a lot of special people, and we're privileged to have the opportunity to work here.
So, and what's great about the air show, too, is we have a lot of young people today tuning in. They've got a lot of questions. We got college-aged people who are interested in aviation. So can you just explain a little bit about the Test Pilot School and what your mission is?
Oh, absolutely, Dan. It's called the U.S. Air Force Test
So I
Pilot School.
got some pictures of it. Flew over the house.
A little misnomer.
Like right here. So flew right over the house.
Test Professional School, because we have
like some 16s taking off too.
We have remotely piloted aircraft pilots. We have
Fort Irwin.
We have combat systems.
Fort Irwin's over here. Fort Irwin. A little far away. They made it out there. That's cool.
We'll probably cram a year and a half of academics, flying activities, and exams into 11 months. So we're working pretty hard. All my students out there, don't be watching this. You need to be studying and writing reports. So, and I know they are. Also, just for your information, the U.S. Air Force Test Pilot School is much broader than that. We support our international partners. In the 76-year history of the school, we've had over 350 international graduates from 25 different countries, and that doesn't even include the Navy. So you start adding the Navy in, and we're probably well over 400. They speak their own language, but we assimilate them into the Air Force in a year. In addition, we have civilians that go through the school. So I was privileged in the mid-90s in Class 94 Alpha. to go through test pilot school as a civilian engineer. So about 2 to 3 a year in different classes, we have that opportunity. So for all you youngsters out there, there's many avenues you can pursue to get into test pilot school or a career here at the Flight Test Center.
I think it's really important to note because it goes well beyond, and obviously we have the military and we need military pilots and they'll go through it, but we need a wide range of people to accomplish the actual mission.
We do, and what Mr. Van Hoy just got done talking about is that you don't just have to be a pilot, and you don't even have to be on active duty in the Air Force to go to test pilot school. You know, we had that listener ask a question about, hey, I'm an undergrad taking physics and I want to be a test pilot. Well, I encourage that person to follow General Lozano's advice. What he described is the path that is similar to what both General Lozano and I did. Got a technical bachelor's degree, joined the military, went to pilot training, and applied to test pilot school later. But to get to test pilot school, there are many, many other ways. And you know, Mr. Van Hoy is a great example of. So if you don't or aren't interested or can't for some reason join active duty in the Air Force, join as a civilian, join as a scientist, join as an engineer. And I think, Dave, you mentioned yesterday that just this week we're doing our down select for the next crop of civilian students.
That's correct. And it's exciting to see the youngsters, I say youngsters, most of them have master's degrees in engineering, come through the schoolhouse in hopes they're active candidates to come to test pilot school. So the opportunities are there, but the diversity is certainly something we've talked about. But the common thread is everyone has a solid background in science, technology, engineering, and math. And it all starts in junior high, it all starts in high school, and we can't emphasize how important that is.
I couldn't agree more. I tell you, one of the things that I remember as I was going through math classes as an undergraduate in college, you know, just get through the math class and I'll never have to deal with it again. You know, that type of philosophy. And the interesting thing about all those classes that many of you are in or many of you will take in the future, all the way back to kindergarten when you first started learning math, the better you understand fundamentals like simple or basic physics, simple chemistry, and especially mathematics, those form the scientific method, and math form the basis of almost everything we do in science, technology, engineering, and math career fields. And that understanding and that fluency will help you be better, get closer to your goals and your dreams and your aspirations, and contribute a lot more later in life. So I know if that third page of math homework is just a little bit more than what you want to do today, there's a reason to be that proficient and that fluent in what is really an international language of mathematics.
General Higer was telling me one of the cool things that you have been a part of is that development of the F-35, one of our latest fifth-generation fighters, but you were actually involved with it when it was called the X-35. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Certainly, Dan. First, let me put a little plug in for the Aerospace Historical Foundation, the Flight Test Historical Foundation. Next Saturday, we're going to have an event called the Gathering of Eagles, and it's going to be a virtual event. Anyone can log in to Zoom and listen to it, and it's going to talk about the Battle of the X-planes, the X-32 versus the X-35, which happened just over 20 years ago. So they're going to get firsthand opportunities to hear some of the folks involved in that program. But it was an honor for me to see the program move from paper. I got involved right when they down-selected the two of the competitors, all the way through manufacturing of these one-of-a-kind airplanes through the flight test part. The challenges the team overcame, the diversity of the workforce. You know, not only do we have the contractors involved, we have the government folks involved, we have multiple test sites involved. We had the Air Force, the Navy, and the Marines all working together. I mean, that in itself was a challenge.
Another interesting aspect of TPS is the fact that now with the buildup of the U.S. Space Force, and they're stood up now and working towards all kinds of different avenues to include test and evaluation, and there's some big news happening in your neck of the woods when it comes to that.
Oh, absolutely. You know, we got the charter from the man who is sitting right here a little while ago, General Lozano, about a year and a half ago, to get engaged with what has now become the United States Space Force. And we're in on the ground floor of producing a course to help educate that workforce. And it's going to be unveiled this coming January of 2022. A 3-month-long space test fundamentals course. that kind of leverages the same model of test pilot school, which has academics, it has hands-on exercises, it has seminars with experts in the community, and it also has some site visits. So we're really excited about starting that.
Yeah, one of the things that I find very important that we look at U.S. Test Professional School, U.S. Air Force Test Professional School, is that while we think historically of Test Pilot School, or TPS, very affiliated with airplanes, the fundamentals of test are really what the school teaches. You know, in a sentence, we teach test was what I would often say when I was on the instructor cadre there. And that fundamental basis of test applies in all aspects of warfighting. We have been teaching folks there test principles using airplanes as the lab, if you will, but then they leave test pilot school and they go test cyber systems, or they go test electronic warfare systems, and soon they'll have a dedicated curriculum that teaches test so that they can go do test and evaluation in the space domain as well. And I want to highlight one other thing that a lot of folks I think are aware of, but there's our first tower flyby, an F-16 making a little noise low and fast. One of the things that is fascinating, and certainly as we look forward into the next 5 and certainly 10 years, testing is no longer going to be what we would call single domain. We are going to have to build tests that involve airplanes and cyber and EW, land forces and space forces, and that test is going to have to run simultaneously. And if you think about that, it is very, very thrilling. To be really blunt, it's a little daunting, but if you are at all interested or excited about doing that, the growth of the test business is not going to decrease anytime in the near future, because that's how we're going to fight. We're going to integrate across all domains and outmaneuver in speed, outmaneuver our adversaries, and that is one of the ways we'll prove it and find our gaps and weaknesses and fill those in and get better.
And that's truly one of the hallmarks of General Brown's accelerate, change, or lose discussion, is the fact that we have to be in that joint warfighting concept.
We do. So the Air Battle Management System, JADC, Joint All Domain Command and Control, are really the embodiments of those programs. How do you test that? How do you build it? How do you even write the requirement for that? And then how do you apply that combat power? Is really what we're trying to get after in that portion of accelerating change. What Mr. Van Hoy talked about here, as we're building the basics, blocking and tackling for test and evaluation, those professionals that are going to graduate from the school that he is privileged to teach at are going to be the ones that lead us into that multi-domain testing for the next couple decades. I want to pivot real quick back to another thing that's kind of neat and unique about instructors at Test Pilot School before Dave leaves. And yes, Dave, I did tell him about your X-35 experience. You can chastise me later for that. But I was a student of Dave's when I was a student at Test Pilot School, and I remember you teaching the first flight class with that as the example. So that is the caliber of instructors that we have at the school. But Dave is an instructor flight test engineer and a flight test engineer graduate from Test Pilot School. But Dave is also a very accomplished pilot and instructor pilot as well, and teaches students in that role. So if you could talk to what engineers do agnostic of what kind of wings they wear at the schoolhouse, I think a lot of folks are unaware of that.
Certainly, as you know, we have both active duty military and civilian pilots and engineers at TPS. And some of our engineers get the opportunity to act as pilots because they're civilian pilots in their own right, flying either commercial private airplanes like Cessnas and Bonanzas and Moonies. I think you're familiar with the Moonie.
Just a little bit. Yeah.
But they also fly gliders. So one part of our syllabus is taking students up to fly gliders with our incredible teammates at Mountain Valley and Tehachapi called Skylark North. It's a great operation. I highly recommend any youngster who wants to learn about flying to go up there and experience glider flight. It's just the basics and fundamentals of flying. And we have engineers that act as instructor pilots for those events. It gives them a chance not only to put their flying skills to use, but they get to work in capacity as an instructor pilot for pilots, the military pilots, who, I'm not going to lie, fighter pilots don't know how to use their feet. All they do is taxi airplanes. So you get them in a glider, and they actually have to use their feet to coordinate. It's eye-opening. But that's part of the syllabus. The syllabus is to stretch folks' experiences and horizons to try to make them better pilots.
Yeah, as just a foot stump on that, I was a fighter pilot that didn't use my feet much in an F-16, but I had a little tailwheel time, so I wasn't completely dead foot. But all of my instructor pilots in gliders both as a student at test pilot school and also when I was back doing my upgrades as a member of the cadre at test pilot school. All of my instructors were engineers and navigators. And that type of recognizing expertise where it resides and leaning on people's interests and talents, that is one of the core tenets of the diversity that you have, and including it in a way that is more powerful than you would if you just simply said, well, you're not a pilot, therefore you
I got a total of 19 people across my 4 channels, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch and Facebook personal channel. So I'm going to ask, where's everybody watching from? Watching this hybrid air show from Edwards here, doing the air traffic control coverage. But where's everybody else watching from? Would like to hear it.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a privilege to spend my career here, and I can't think of any other place I'd want to be. Thank you for your time. General, thanks for your friendship and this work.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here, Dave, and all my best to everybody back in the schoolhouse. If you ever want to trade jobs, let me know. I might know a guy.
No thanks.
All right.
No, you can come back and work for me. I'm glad to have you. Can do that anytime.
I might take you up on that. All right. Thanks again, Dave. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you, guys.
Teacher to the student, always.
Yeah, it is absolutely amazing. You know, I tell you, the schoolhouse is a near and dear place to my heart. But it isn't just that I'm a graduate and an instructor there. It's the exciting people that get to work and be there. And when you look at the diversity of backgrounds and experience in nations that are in the
Oh, nice. We've got a Ridgecrest. You're not too far from here, just north. Welcome, Hope. John. Oh wow, Cinemark 22 in Lancaster. I used to always go there for movies, but now because of the COVID, not able to watch movies anymore. So that's cool. You're watching it from there. Listening to the air traffic control too, there, John. I might be able to reach that way. I can kind of get the people here at Edwards landing and taking off.
Expose people to those that haven't been from the same part of government or even government at all, the better it is. And I can't think of a better way to transition or to welcome our next guest than to say we have awesome partners that often have very different and divergent paths that have provided a synergistic relationship here at Edwards.
So let's bring in Kevin Rohr from NASA, the Strategic Communications Chief. Kevin, how are you?
Hey, thank you. Doing great, Matt. General, thank you for having me back. It's a great day to go flying. And if I can, before I get started, I've got a little thing wrapped up in a sanitary wipe here just to keep it safe. I have a NASA coin that I'd like to give to the General, and it's in commemoration of our Artemis program. As you know, we are sending the next man and the first woman back to the moon, not just to be a visitor, but to stay and get us onto Mars. So, General, to commemorate all the great support we do together, want to give you this coin and thank you for all your help.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I will display that proudly. What a great testament to the partnership that we have here with NASA at Edwards. And we have many mission partners at Plant 42 and at Edwards.
So apparently they're doing missions to the moon and then eventually to Mars. That's very interesting.
The alliance between the Air Force, specifically the
very interesting.
And the NASA Armstrong
Asperia, nice. J78, cool. Heard some saw some people in the chat saying that they went over there as well. So hopefully you got to see something.
Yeah, and thank you, General. The alliance goes all the way back, and the work we've
There's a
been
B52 over at Fort Irwin now.
Talking about earlier.
That's over over here, Fort Irwin. Just flying over Fort Irwin.
In fact, next year we'll be celebrating our 75th year as
hope
here on
in the China Lake Acres. Hopefully we can see them from here. Should be able to.
We're making new history today with our supersonic flight.
Should be able to see them from there. At least hear them at least. Depending if there's a terrain or somewhat whatever foliage you have over there. But mostly terrain, be able to see them.
To try to break the sound barrier, and that actually happened here at Edwards. But just interesting, the intertwined work that the Air Force and NASA have done together.
And there are example after example after example of a very synergistic relationship, a very symbiotic relationship. We've already mentioned the X1, but X15 is another exceptional historical example. Kevin, if you want to talk about that or any that we have currently.
Sure, and as you may know, Neil Armstrong flew the X-15. He's that guy that went on to the moon. And by the way, our center is named after him. But talking about supersonic flight, we have a new X program. It's called X-59, and it's not to go faster, but to go faster and quietly. Can you fly at supersonic speeds and do it quietly without disturbing people on the ground to pave the way for a whole new industry of cross-country supersonic flights. Imagine going from LA to New York in 3 hours, let alone 6 or 7.
Yeah, so one of the fascinating things that when you think about the mashup of science as it impacts technology in the form of that X-59, I remember vividly in my very senior and graduate school aerodynamics classes when we talked about where does all the energy come from for the sonic boom, and the answer is it's from fuel. So if we can make an aircraft with a sonic boom that's either less powerful or less sharp, we potentially have some drag savings, and that's also more efficiency as well. And so it isn't just a benefit in the X-59 program for places we can fly and people we don't disturb, although I certainly don't mind that. There's also some environmental potential.
There's the flyby. As you can hear, the flybys going out. They're doing flyby right by tower here at Edwards.
Absolutely. Another year or two, you should be able to see it flying across the valley here, so we look forward to that. We'll make a big deal about it so you can take part in it too. So another thing that we do as far as
there's two T38s coming to land.
We do a lot of airborne science aircraft.
Called Full Stop over the radio.
The air show today. I don't know if it's been on camera or not yet, but our ER2 aircraft.
Probably that 16 going inside downwind.
The other day, it was just out flying over some of the devastated areas from the wildfires.
Oh, we had some. It had it in here. I'll show it again.
No.
This is
that
their.
Interrupt me every day, and I'll just smile big.
Their airplanes ready to go.
There
it is.
Sure.
I'm just gonna say
so this was on Friday. There's no 35 or 22 on today, Saturday. But all these other planes, except for the B1, were there. So they had the T38s, F16s, 18s, 52, C17, C20. Had a U2 as well, and a C12, and then a Gulfstream they had. So, lots of planes, good amount of planes.
Those passes that you're seeing back at Edwards for these aircraft coming back relatively low and in some cases very fast, that is on a tower flyby line. That is part of the test apparatus that we have here at Edwards, and it's a way that we calibrate aerodynamic and aero systems. And so that's a proficiency-based item that all of our aircrew need to continue to do. So those are not airshow maneuvers. That's what you get the privilege and the honor of doing every day when you fly aircraft at and around Edwards Air Force Base. But let's talk about the TR2 real quick, because Kevin, we have seen it on the video here today, and we've also seen your Gulfstream.
Right, and
no problem, Hope. Thanks for watching.
Last couple of weeks flying over, I can't quite see the monitor here. It looks a little blurry for me from this angle, but they've been flying over the fire areas, and not necessarily to help the firefighters on the ground, but to understand the impact of the ecology and the devastation from the fires, so we can better model and predict when and where you might have mudslides and revegetation and how the growth is going to come back. So it's about healing those fire areas as well.
I'm being told that's a C12 flying over Palmdale.
Well, there you go.
Well, I won't take credit for that one. That's not mine.
That is one of the ones based at Edwards that have Air Force on the tail. Kevin, one of the airplanes that Chief Eishen was really fired up to talk about earlier today was Sophia. If you would give us a quick discussion of what Sophia is and does.
Certainly. For all of our friends down in Palmdale, they probably get to see her all the time taking off. Right now, she's actually in Germany. Sophia is a modified 747 SP aircraft, and we have gutted the insides, created a laboratory out of it, and mounted a huge telescope in the back of it. So imagine a door on the side of an aircraft, a 747, the size of your garage door, fly up to 70,000.
They're talking about the 747.
And then they'll open the door, allowing the telescope to peer out of the universe and study things that you could never see.
747 that takes off from Palmdale.
Imagery. It's infrared. Will see through the visible light and takes heat measurements. So we can look through dust, we can look through other things and see constellation stars and galaxies forming across the universe.
And a lot of people say, well, why don't you just put that telescope on the ground? And the answer is there's a lot of atmosphere between the surface of the Earth and 40,000 feet that when the airplane's that high, you don't have to mess with or deal with.
I'll show you the pictures right here. So this is the
infrared, a lot of the atmosphere
aircraft they're talking about.
Water attenuates or reduces.
Talking about this aircraft right here.
So we're learning for humanity.
It's based out at Palmdale, and they were saying it went to Germany for repairs or the modifications. I saw it on ADSB fly over there. That's the 747 SP that they have.
Sophia is just one of many tools that NASA has trying to delve into
telescope
questions.
So a question coming in for you, Kevin, is NASA sounds really awesome. I would love to work there. how would one even start looking to join NASA?
You know, I love working here too, and I'm not sure who wrote the question, but you can do it. For all those that are still in school, like some of the other presenters said, it's math and science and STEM. For those that are out of school and already in the career, we still bring in people mid-career, late career, any expertise. While we are heavy in the STEM fields, we also have accountants, we have public affairs communications folks, we have people who do human resources, just about any career field, even psychologists. What is it like to fly in an airplane, and how are these astronauts going to Mars going to psychologically survive for 8 months or up to 3 years doing a space mission? So any kind of career field is on the table. We're hiring them. If you're ready for making that transition today, go to usajobs.gov and do a search for NASA. There's probably a ton of jobs out there today.
And one of the neat things about if you want to work for NASA, just get to Edwards. And so we actually, when I lose somebody to some organizations, I refer to that as being poached. But it is not the case when we have somebody that goes down the street to NASA Armstrong Flight Research Center, because we know they're not really leaving. There's a lot of partnership there, and that combined understanding between the 412 Test Wing and Edwards folks and NASA is very important for both of our missions. But there's a better than average chance that person or somebody else is going to flow back. And so there's a very unique career path if you're a scientist or an engineer to flow from the Air Force at Edwards to NASA at Edwards and back multiple times.
Right, and a prime example is a lot of our pilots. Most of the pilots that we have are very, very experienced. Some are getting ready to retire from the military, from the Air Force. We have a couple of test school graduates that have actually come on to NASA to help fly as our research and our pilots at NASA. Also have program managers that have come over from the Air Force. Because of that unique relationship we have, we can exchange resources and benefit both organizations.
Yeah, I'm going to call him out in person, but former squadron commander of mine, he's a NASA pilot today on the payroll, but he's also an instructor pilot at test pilot school. So he's a retired Air Force colonel. He works officially for NASA. He flies NASA missions in the F18, the T38, and he teaches and instructs in the T38 at Air Force Test Pilot School. So just a personal great example of the synergy at the by-name level between NASA Armstrong Flight Research Center and the 412 Test Wing.
Yes.
So really just a testament to the synergy and that alliance that you talked about, probably not just between your two organizations, but all across the valley.
Well, and if I can, that pretty much everybody watching us today has benefited from NASA technology and even Air Force technology. You can't walk across the street. You can't get in an airplane. You can't do anything today without having some NASA technology there. Huge economic benefits coming back from the research we do. It's just not about us and sharing our experience. It's about sharing it with the world and helping the world become a better place.
Yeah, and let's talk about what NASA did to help the world become a better place. I know I talked about this yesterday, but I find one of the very, very inspirational NASA moments from history, and this was in the Apollo, the early space race program, as dramatized in the movie Hidden Figures, right? That was a NASA organization on the East Coast, but still NASA writ large, that realized we had hidden talent and hidden treasure in the brains of some folks that wouldn't have otherwise been employed by the United States. And so getting those ladies on board as calculators was a tremendous asset for NASA and the nation.
And speaking of NASA, that was just our F18, I think, doing a flyby of the tower here. So sorry to take your job for you, Matt, but I couldn't help doing that plug. So speaking of Hidden Figures, when NASA first came out to Muroc Field, at the time it was called, we brought 13 individuals from NASA Langley, where that movie was based.
I believe so. They might. I don't have them on ADSB.
Computers as our cell phones or these big
I can't really see how they're getting up there
mostly
in that case, but I've seen people in the Facebook chat.
Analyzing the flight data and
it's right here that said Eva saw 5 on Ridgecrest. In Ridgecrest.
Backbone behind our research.
Yeah, they absolutely
They must have
again,
gone over there.
The movie, you know what I'm about to say already, but if you haven't, it isn't just that they were women in a largely male-dominated culture, but they were always also African Americans for the most part as well. And that to me really drives home something that's very important in our society today, and that the Air Force and NASA capitalize on. We can't do what our nation needs us to do, and we can't lead the way if we don't take advantage of all the talent that's available, independent of where you were born and what your gender is and what your skin intonation are, or where you worship, or any other facet like that, if you are interested in performing and contributing in a technical way, we want you and we need you, and you're going to bring something new that none of us would have ever considered before. And Hidden Figures is just a good story to tell, but I can go on and on and on with how that diversity and including it has benefited us all.
Yeah, and General, if I can, just give a shout out. We still have one of those early human computers living in our valley, and her name is Betty Love. Betty, if you're out there, we love you, we miss you, and we wish you well, and thank you for your service. But she's still out there in the community, and sorry to do the plug, but I love Betty to death and couldn't help but mention her name.
I have tremendous amount of respect for Betty.
Yeah, I would think they would fly over the Navy base up there.
You know, they were on a technical front and a technical fight.
So you'd probably be able to hear them if you're in the right area, looking in the right direction at the right time. You'd probably be able to see them, but sorry that you missed them.
Beautiful shot of your NASA F18.
Hope you're able to enjoy some of the
for landing here
live stream of them watching on YouTube and Facebook, wherever you're watching on YouTube.
And thanks for stopping by.
See some type of airplane today. At least you get to hear the air traffic control as well too.
All right, as we look at the Hornet there on the rollout, we got a few other folks still in the air. The last couple live shots have been at Fort Irwin. I want to commend everyone that I saw on the video screen earlier that were at our locations in Palmdale. It is just thrilling to me to see folks that got out and watched this out in the community. One of the things that we were, I'll say, legitimately concerned about is that if we put a large crowd together, that it would be a hot spot. And it was nice to see the crowds gathered there with appropriate physical separation.
Saying that B52 flew over Ridgecrest.
But still enjoying the iron flying over them.
Yeah, as the
They're saying B52's.
That's just a cool looking airplane too, right?
It is also a neat looking airplane with a great capability there. You know, there's a mantra there that a lot of people don't realize the story of the Hornet. The Hornet actually started life as the YF-17 in a fly-off competition with the YF-16, and the YF-17 Hornet lost that competition. But you know, to the model that we talk about a lot, and we have to fail to learn and get better. The company that failed that competition, they learned from that loss. They made the aircraft better. And pitched it to the Navy, and the Navy said that's an exceptional airplane, and we won it. And here we are 30 years later with it still dominating in its mission set. And so failure isn't a bad thing if you learn from it and you move on to it. And I think the F-18 is a great example of how its legacy really informed how awesome it is going forward.
Welcoming in Justin Anthony to the set here from the Air Force Test Center from the Civilian Service Talent Acquisition Program. And how are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Thank you for having me again. I see we have the Captain Marvel helmet on today, so that's pretty cool.
It is very cool. Yeah, thanks for joining us again there.
It raises the cool factor for us, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I actually have a pretty cool Captain Marvel story. When they were filming here back then, I was a flight line supervisor, so we had to get the aircraft positioned for the film. And oh wow, look at that C17 there.
Gorgeous shot of the Fort Irwin.
Actually stopped me mid-sentence.
No problem. It's stopping everybody mid-sentence when airplanes fly over on a Saturday like this.
Oh wow, look at that. Well, going back to the Captain Marvel story here, we put our aircraft on the set, and day one we put the B1 on position, and you know, we're excited. We have Hollywood people in the house, and we're big fans. And I think it was day 4, we actually pulled the B2 in, and we saw it was a complete role reversal, and all the Hollywood people thought we were the rock stars. So that was really cool. What we do here is awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and that's another great shot all day long from our 2nd Audio Visual Squadron crew. Yeah, that is just gorgeous.
Yeah, when they were filming Marvel, I was here too, and I got to meet Samuel Jackson and Brie Larson when she was doing interviews for different news stations like Entertainment Tonight and stuff, and they used one of our 22s as the scene in there. It was pretty cool. Good to see all that, see behind the scenes of different movies.
Mine a couple times that I've had the privilege to have flying on C-17s out of Edwards.
That's awesome. I hope to be able to have that same story one day. That'd be great.
You know, I might know somebody there.
Okay.
He seems to know know a guy.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm on the right set.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So we're here because, you know, we're seeing all this great iron, and it's so inspiring, and it'll basically stop you mid-sentence,
Yes.
and you just mouth drops,
Oh,
just
definitely.
everything. But there's a lot of folks behind the scenes and across different fronts, not just pilots, that actually make that happen.
Yes.
And it's not just airmen in uniform, it's actually a civilian sector that plays a major role here in the Valley.
That is true. Here at Edwards, we have a large population of civilian airmen that are part of our team. We're a unique installation. A lot of our active duty bases have a much higher percentage of active duty. We're here, we probably have a 70 to 80% civilian to active duty ratio. So what that does is it gives people who wouldn't normally want to put on the uniform, that want to be a part of the Air Force team, you can still be a part of the Air Force team by coming and joining us and being engineers or whatever it is. I know we're talking a lot about engineering right now, but we have a lot of great other opportunities for, we were discussing some of them yesterday. Firefighting was one that wasn't mentioned. Behind us, we have an airfield management truck. We have safety people that keep everybody out here safe. And we're all part of the overall, I guess, eco structure that makes it all work.
Yeah, so you have an interesting story on how you first came into Air Force service. So why don't you share that with us?
Yeah, so I was an aircraft mechanic, and I went to school. I got my degree, and by doing that, it gave me some opportunities to move up, move laterally, and move up, because we have a lot of opportunities here available. Right now, we have an aging workforce. The entire aerospace industry has an aging workforce. So if you're young and you're looking for opportunities, people like myself, I was able to capitalize off those opportunities because we don't have a large population of people on the back end to fill those positions. So I was able to do that, and here I am. I'm now in the world of human resources and recruiting, and at one point, you know, I was out here trying to fix airplanes. And completely different world, and I'm still part of the overall mission, which at the end of the day, that's the most important thing, is you want to feel like you're part of it. And that's exactly what we are. We're part of the overall team.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize, folks like Justin joined the Air Force, or what we call assess the Air Force, as a civilian, doing jobs that are often thought of as military-only jobs. Pilots, aircraft maintainers, a couple other gigantic career fields that we have for civilians at Edwards are in the communication career field. So information technology and information systems specialists. There's a huge demand signal for those folks right now. And then another one that's, well, we're kind of sitting on it right now, one that may not be obvious to everybody, but the civil engineering career fields. So folks that build and maintain roads, sewer, water. They do some smaller construction projects. They manage all the large construction projects. Overwhelmingly, all of the airmen that we have on this installation doing all of those missions that literally build this installation, they are all they are all civilian airmen.
That is correct, yes, and you can't understate their contribution to the base and what they mean to everybody, the facilities, maintenance, and just the overall infrastructure. We couldn't do what we do without having all of those resources, and we have a lot of opportunities there. Firefighting is actually under civil engineering. We're looking for mechanics and the architects, and they're looking at solar energy for people that are engineers, civil engineering, but not just the civil engineering, but mechanical engineers, where they're looking for those in the civil engineering group. They're trying to move forward with the technology, not just maintain and build up everything, but they're actually trying to strategize on the future and how we build bases moving forward.
Yeah, a lot of people, we've been foot stomping science, technology, engineering, and math, and degrees and educations in those. But you know, if you just want to be on our team, we have vehicle maintainers, so heavy.
That B52 coming over Edwards. Seems like he's about to do the low pass.
Heavy contact Josh, approach 348.7
and I'm actually sitting at a table again for the full round with a professional that's a civilian in the public affairs regime, where we have a lot of civilians also. So if you have an interest in it and you are interested in being a part of the Air Force but not wearing a military uniform, wearing a civilian uniform, I suspect we have it, and if we got it in the Air Force, Edwards usually has it.
That is correct.
Yes. So, Justin, here it comes.
Yes, I think you all timed this. This is my baby. One of them at least. Yeah, I love that I got this time slot. Thank you.
Long range, heavy bars, the B52 Stratofortress. It is a thing of beauty. Just, you know, soak that up, right?
Oh yeah. I mean,
Let's see if I can see this from outside. So,
it's all said and
be right
done.
back.
I mean, that's
Let's see if I can see it from here.
legendary airframe we'll ever see. You know, and not just because I'm biased. I think if I wasn't out of it.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you that the shot as it's coming towards us looks like it's leaning into the fight.
Oh yeah.
The design has been around for almost 70 years. The airplane's been flying for 50 plus.
Oh, here it goes.
Here it comes, and here's the sound.
That's the sound of freedom.
It really, really is.
Yeah.
What a workhorse for our strategic national arsenal. What a workhorse for Edwards, the B52 is. It's a large component of the triad that keeps us safe and deterrence from those that would do us harm. But at Edwards, it also has a really big role in its ability to carry very large objects, very heavy objects, along the wing and in the bomb bays that are tested. So that's a neat capability that the B52 brings.
We're looking now for Isabella at 2515,
So Justin,
400
if someone's interested in a career or reaching out to look into opportunities as we get ready to wrap up here, where can they go?
Well, you want to go to afciviliancareers.com. That is A as in Alpha, F as in Frank, civiliancareers.com. And there you can find out about our current job openings, our LinkedIn site as well, the Air Force Test Center LinkedIn page. You'll see opportunities for Edwards and our other test center locations. And on the AF Civilian Careers site, you'll also find information on our internship programs, which are really big right now with our, obviously with our engineering field for both graduate and undergraduate internship, paid internship programs, by the way. So all that information is.
So I was able to see it. Got a few pictures of it. I'll be sharing it on my Facebook page and my Instagram. AviationPlusOne on Facebook and Instagram. Search that, should come up. So be sure to follow those, like those, and be able to see the pictures I got today of a few aircraft.
We have significant vacancies current, and we have vacancies going for people that are deciding to retire and move on to other things. So this is not a in the future come look us up. It's available today, right now, in almost every career field we've talked about.
Internet's open 24/7.
Yes.
Go check it out, AirForceCareers.com.
We'd love to have you join the team.
Yes, thank you. We would love it.
Thanks so much, Justin.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Yes, thank you.
The love of aviation, right?
Yeah. So
Justin isn't very biased.
No, it's not. And I tell you, one of the neat things that Justin sees it not just as a maintainer, but he also sees it from his current job. That when you're a civilian in this organization, we use the phrase, and you've used it in this broadcast, Big A. We talk about airmen that are officers and airmen that are enlisted, airmen that wear a uniform. But airmen that are civilians are no less airmen than those of us that get the privilege of wearing a uniform. And there's something that's common amongst all airmen, and that is a love and an appreciation for what we do for and how we connect to the mission. You can see it in Justin's discussion, his excitement, not just because he was a mechanic previously, but in what he can do to move the mission forward every day. And another thing that you'll see out of Justin is that all airmen, all Big A airmen, are very interested and willing to talk to you, the public, talk to you, our neighbors, our friends, our relatives, on what opportunities are available for you in the Department of Defense as a civilian. And that was Justin's lane. If you'd like to find out about that as an officer, we can connect that with you too. And if you have any interest in joining the Air Force or the services, but specifically the Air Force as an enlisted member, we may have a guest here soon.
We do, and joining us, Tech Sergeant Stephen Whelan from the Air Force Recruiting Service. So glad you could take some time out and join us today. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm the recruiter for most of the Antelope Valley, along with my office partner, Staff Sergeant Reeves. He's off camera, but we both came out here to kind of support the mission and tell you guys a little bit more about what we do and what we're looking for, things that we've gone through.
So help me dispel a rumor real fast. So it may not have gotten out to the public that we kept basic military training full throttle through the early stages of the pandemic, and it's still full up today. Confirm that for me and tell me what you've been doing that's been slightly different, but keeping the mission moving.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So for for us shipping people out to basic military training, obviously the mission still has to go. We have a pipeline of people who are going through recruiting, getting to basic training, getting to technical training, and onto their careers. When the coronavirus broke out, we had a little bit of a hiccup with our offices.
So it seems like that might be it for the aircraft. I'll probably be snipping the stream to a close here. It's been about 2.5 hours. So be sure to, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Follow me on Facebook, AviationPlusOne. Same thing with Instagram. And if you like some shirts to support the channel, I have a Teespring store. Has some nice aviation-related shirts on there for you aviation nerds. But those are available for support. But I'll have this on for a little bit. Have any questions, please feel free to ask. Once I go off, I'm pretty sure the Edwards Air Force Base stream will still be going. So be sure to go there. Do not stop watching because I stopped. So make sure you go to the Edwards Air Force Base Facebook page and like it and continue watching it on there. But I'll be on for a little bit longer. Yeah, have any questions or anything, feel free to ask. And if you have any questions for the personnel, be sure to go to that Edwards Air Force Base Facebook page and watch the live stream to add it on there. So I'll be here, and yep, just if you have anything, just let me know. And yes, John, thank you for watching and supporting. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully one day we'll have an actual air show. And yeah, hopefully one day.
Have questions for, but if you don't want to use the application, our offices are open. We're at 44509 Valley Central Way, right here in the Aerospace Testing Center of the Universe. I heard you saying earlier, you know, the Antelope Valley is really huge. There's a lot of places that are doing aerospace testing and engineering, but we cover all of that. Airforce.com is a good place to go to for good information. But you could always just give us a call. My area code 323-326-3804. Contact me anytime. Calls.
So obviously there's a lot of STEM across Air Force specialties, but what are some of the career fields in the Air Force if somebody wants to enlist? Maybe they're not necessarily ready to go be an officer or be a pilot, but what are some career fields that are heavy when it comes to STEM that the Air Force is in need of, and we could use some help right now?
Well, we have a lot of career fields that are working with cyberspace.
And Torch 52, copies Torch 15, 2524 is
you can work, if you do want to work with computers specifically.
Sure, got picking up a DLT in my position if you got a chance to copy.
Aerospace propulsion. You can work.
He reports within that 10 miles of your current position.
There's really, if you wanted to join the Air Force, you wanted to get into something that was going to push you ahead, then it's a good route to go. I could find a spot for really anybody who comes into my office. The cool thing about the Air Force is that you don't need any prior experience to join the Air Force and have a very fulfilling career. We usually, recruiters will go to high schools because high school students, when you're graduating, or for a lot of the seniors this year, you might not have a plan for your future really set in stone. Some people will go to college, some people will go to a trade school. With the Air Force, we'll give you the ASVAB, which will kind of figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are, and from that point, we'll put you into a career field, provide all of the training that you would need, and then give you a first duty location and a career, potentially, to work yourself into something really great. A good example of that would be my primary AFSC is munition systems, and I've been doing that for a long time before I became a recruiter. And now that my recruiting tour is coming to an end and I'm going back to my munition systems career field, my goal is to take all of the experience that I've had working with munitions, testing them, fielding them, even putting like telemetry kits into the AGMs, and go and become a weapons engineer after I leave the Air Force. And it's provided me with a lot of opportunities, both while on active duty with the training that I've gotten, and also by going to school while I'm on active duty to pursue a systems engineering degree. And when I've just indefinitely re-enlisted last week, and I'm going to keep this thing to 20 plus years. And when I get out, I know I have good opportunities, good prospects to become the next Tony Stark.
And there's and great reference. Way to throw that in. I love that. There's a lot of opportunities for applicants to pursue a certain path. They have a lot of say now in what they would like to do. They can sign up for a particular job if they have strong interest in it.
Well, we have over 150 plus careers that applicants would be able to choose from, depending on their qualifications. Obviously, we have to make sure your ASVAB scores are where they need to be to qualify for jobs. We'd also have to make sure that medically you meet all the requirements to enlist. And so as a recruiter, that's my job to help you kind of sort through what things you would be qualified for. If you need a retest, if you need this or this, whatever you need, I help you make that happen. And when you get to MEPS and when you're done with your processing, they'll give you a list of jobs that you're qualified to do. Now, for us, we're going to require you to list a couple jobs that you're interested in. But out of the jobs that you'll qualify for, you're sure to find at least 10 jobs that you'd like to get into. And of course, we look at the preference of an applicant's job list. So if they have a number one job, let's say they want to be a fusion analyst, they put that job as number one. As long as they meet all the ancillary requirements, I can try to book them on that job. And it really just depends on availability at the time and what the job is that they're listing.
And if you have someone who comes in and says, I would like to be an officer, you can help get them to the right place as well.
Absolutely. We have officer recruiters. For me, I do enlisted accessions. But if applicants were trying to get into the Air Force specifically to become an officer, I am usually their first stop. They come to my office or they call in and they say, hey, I have these qualifications. I'd like to become an officer. I do a preliminary pre-qualification with them, and then I make the right connections. I get them in touch with the officer recruiters in our squadron, and then they pick up the torch from there and get them on their way.
Yeah, there are three primary ways to join what we would call the line of the Air Force. And while I'm talking here, Sergeant Whalen, I appreciate you sharing your story. If you have a question for Sergeant Whalen or you'd like some contact information, please text us at that 507-339-7836 number. Sergeant Whalen can probably knock that out, even text you back before he leaves today. So don't hesitate to ask us a question through that, in addition to hitting the other locations that he's already mentioned. But a session directly as an officer, there are three primary routes. One is to go to the United States Air Force Academy. He has connections to that, and most officers that you would ever bump into also can connect you with an Air Force Academy recruiter. You can do what I did and join Air Force Reserve Officer Training Corps that are at many of the major universities across our nation. You can do that for 2 years, or you can do that for 4 years during your bachelor's degree or during graduate school as well. A classmate of mine in pilot training completed his Reserve Officer Training Corps while he got his master's degree in engineering, as an example. And the third way, which is the one that Sergeant Whalen was referring to there, is if you already have the degree and you want to join the line of the Air Force as an officer, then we would try to get you to officer training school.
Yes, sir.
And so there's a specific recruiting branch for that. But there are a lot of other ways you can assess as an officer if you're a dentist or a doctor, a lawyer, if you're a chaplain. And so those are also very unique and available. So again, like I said when Justin Anthony was here, if there's something that you can think about doing, I bet the Air Force has a place for you. That may be officer, enlisted, or civilian.
So again, Aim High app, airforce.com. The Aim High app, simply incredible. Lots of resources, a one-stop shop for everything recruiting. It's all in one place, right in the palm of your hand. You can download it right now from the App Store.
Good, and you should.
So, Sergeant Whalen, we certainly appreciate your time, and thanks for stopping by, and thanks for what you do for our Air Force.
Thank you.
All right, so let me pile on one more thing there as we talk about recruiting. Many of you are aware that our nation had
we're looking to get 2524 in Isabella as well.
A race relations or disparity issues. The Department of Defense specifically is taking very aggressive action against that. The Department of the Air Force is actually in the lead on that effort. And one of the things that we are emphasizing across all lanes of recruiting and all lanes of advancement is we're taking continuing to take a good hard look at, are we representative of the nation that we serve? Do we have the right mix of gender? Do we have the right mix of educational backgrounds? Do we have the right mix of regional representation? And any other aspect of diversity is something that we continue to take a good look at. I've mentioned it before, but I'll foot stomp it again because I can't say it enough. If you have a monolithic or a group of people that all have the same background, the same experiences in life, they're going to subperform a group that has any aspect of diversity of experience or background. And that we want to be in an Air Force, and we want to have a nation that capitalizes and includes all of that diverse background of thought, experience, education, rank, and everything else. And the Air Force recruiters are very open and interested and aware of that. They try to recruit regionally in a way that's demographically representative of the fields and the regions that they serve, and that applies all the way up to including my level and above.
A live shot there from Fort Irwin, the National Training Center. Just great images all day long. Dan Hawkins along with Brigadier General Matt Heiger, the commander of the 412th Test Wing, and now joined on set by the Vice Commander of the 412th Test Wing, Colonel Randall Laz Gordon. And, sir, good to see you again.
Hey, Dan, how you doing?
Good, good. And we just had both the civilian and Air Force recruiting on with us, and so many ways to join the Air Force. And General Heiger was just talking about the role that diversity plays in the Air Force. So I wanted to ask you, kind of carrying on from our conversation from yesterday, but how do you see yourself as a role model?
Yeah, well, Dan, thanks, and sir, it's good to be back with you again as well.
Same.
We're all doing our John Madden, Pat Summerall best impression here, so it's good. Welcome for everyone, and it's always good to be hanging out with you guys again. So with respect to me as a role model, I've always kind of looked at it as...
Now I'm going to open up the frequencies to civilian side too, so you'll be able to hear civilian sides. Some people flying around and stuff, but should be closing out. Talking on guard, should be closing out this in for like 5 minutes or so, because it's about over. But enjoy the air traffic control.
Always looked at, we were talking a little bit about this yesterday, but for those that weren't on board then, as a young cadet at the Air Force Academy, I got a chance to meet not one, but two Tuskegee Airmen. One of them was General Benjamin Davis, who was the commander of the Tuskegee Airmen, and then the other one was a man named Colonel Lee Archer, who's the only African-American ace of the original Tuskegee Airmen. With Benjamin Davis, I still remember when he came around, he met us all on the Air Force Academy grounds. It was a spring day. It was very, very warm outside. There was a lot of us gathered. Obviously, someone of that stature is going to generate a lot of interest. And what really struck me is that he walked around to every single one of us, shook our hands very firmly, looked us in the eye, and said, you know, thank you, right? I thought that was very gracious for a man that by that point was fairly well on in age, but still had the energy to come around and thank all of us. Later on, about 2 or 3 months after that, Colonel Archer came to visit the Air Force Academy, and in that scenario, I actually got a chance to fly with him in a glider. So that was kind of neat, right? I mean, how many folks can say that they actually have flight time with an original Tuskegee Airman? So it was a beautiful flight. You know, we were transferring aircraft control back and forth, doing a couple turns and seeing what that was all about and having a good time with it. And then at the end of it, he kind of pulled me aside when no one else was around, and he was telling me thanks, and what I thought he was saying was thanks for the flight, stupid me. What he was really saying was thank you for existing where you are. And he described a story where when he came back from World War II, when the ship pulled into New York Harbor, he came down the gangway, and after everything that they had done, after all the combat they had served, after all of that, when he got back to the United States, when he got back to the bottom of the gangplank, there was a sign that said, whites this way, Negroes that way. And it really broke his heart. And so his main concern was that everything they had done, the nation wouldn't remember, wouldn't change a thing, and it would just keep going on that way. So when he was saying thank you, what he was really saying is thanks for existing, thanks for being here, thanks for existing.
Here's that flyby you heard on the radio.
Honestly, it's not that big of a deal because it was a huge deal back in those days because it validated everything that they did. So long way around it there, Dan, but when you're saying role model, the way I kind of interpret it as is men like Lee Archer and Ben Davis, they were role models for me, right, coming up, as well as folks like Neil Armstrong and John Glenn. I mean, I have a universe of people that I look up to all the way through. And so now in this role, I kind of look at my job as give back, right, pay it forward, and be a role model for other folks as well.
And I certainly can't imagine what it must have been like to share a cockpit with a Tuskegee Airman. Had to be pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm going to go outside and see if I can see this C17 flyby.
Is that if you look at someone that's especially a senior officer or a senior enlisted leader leader, a chief, especially in the Air Force, and they don't look like you, I bet they know somebody that has your background and your experience. And so ask me if, hey, here's what I'm interested in. Do you have anybody that I could talk to? And I absolutely can connect you with someone that you can make a quick and immediate bond with that can talk to you about their life.
So we see the C17 right there.
Here it is, Tower Flyby coming up.
And Matthew from Palmdale says, how big is the C17?
Well, you might have a fact sheet there, Dan. Laz, I don't remember the exact numbers, but I want to say they have, takeoff gross weights deep into the hundreds of thousands of pounds.
I can give you the stats.
Yeah, go ahead. Give us the number there, Dan.
Maybe we'll let the sound of freedom roll by first. It's not too loud. 169 feet 10 inches is the wingspan, and the length is 174 feet. Cargo compartment 88 feet long, 18 feet wide. Wow, 12 feet 4 inches high. Wow, it's huge.
Hundreds of thousands of pounds of iron when that thing lifts off at its max gross weight. It is very, very easy for me to say the C-17 carries more fuel than the heaviest F-16 I have ever flown, and maybe even the heaviest Eagle you've ever flown,
that's right.
Laz. I mean, it's just an amazing beast.
Wow.
One thing every fighter pilot appreciates about the C-17 is it doesn't have a yoke, right, in the same way that you see like in a traditional airliner. It's got a flight stick, and it has a heads-up display that's directly in front of it, so it maneuvers beautifully. You'll find a lot of us test pilots, we're all science fiction nerds, and so whenever I see a C-17 fly, for some oddball reason, it reminds me of the Millennium Falcon. Just a large airplane, but it maneuvers like a fighter. It's a very impressive airlifter, very impressive airplane.
And thanks for all the questions streaming in on the social media as well as the text messaging. Reminder, you can text us a question. 507-339-7836 is the number as you see it on your screen there, along with the C-17. We got a ton of questions, so I figured we could do a little quick rapid fire. We got people from Minnesota watching, Lake Los Angeles. What is the oldest plane you fly? Zoe is asking from Lake Los Angeles.
I'll let Laz answer that question first.
So the oldest plane we fly is an Air Force, or the oldest plane I've flown?
How about both?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so we just had a B52 flyby. What I'm always amazed by that airplane, it was built in the 1950s, and I always look at all the other airplanes that were around when that airplane first took its first flight. Airplanes like F-100s or C-119s. I mean, all these different airplanes. The B52 has survived all the way through that. And continues to modernize and continues to upgrade, and it will be with us probably 50+ more years from now. So that's the oldest plane I think at least we have here on the flight line, just in terms of what we fly around here. The oldest airplane I've flown is an old tail dragger airplane called a Aranca Champ, which was fun. Didn't have a normal electrical system, so you had to hand prop it to get through. Didn't have an intercom system, so it was a little battery operated thing that you put in there. But I'll tell you what, man, getting a chance to fly airplanes like that, there's something to be said, especially when you're used to flying very modern, fly-by-wire airplanes like what we call, where everything is a digital display. But you still get that stick and rudder feel of an airplane. I love flying older airplanes. Boss, what's your answer?
Yeah, so I don't know the actual oldest plane I've flown. But if I just look at my military flying, it's probably either a T6, so a World War II advanced trainer. Lots of learning happened in there, and most of the tails that exist were pre-1950. And I also have been privileged to have a couple of flights.
Hey, Pac-Man. Seems like it's basically over. They're all landing. They're all landing. So I'll be ending the stream probably once this C-17 lands, and be sure to continue watching on Facebook at the Edwards live stream. Hey, Overlos. Yeah, C-17 is neat. Pretty cool. About to end the stream. Have the C-17 get a clearance, and I'll probably end it.
Another great question. Natalie from Bakersfield, 10 years old. Natalie, what aircraft seems the easiest to fly?
Oh, the touch and go. That's cool.
Natalie, first of all, thanks for joining us. I am inspired by you joining us and being interested and paying attention. I was an aviation aficionado, is what I say, and other people describe me.
Can you give me an estimated land time so I don't set maintenance out too early?
The easiest airplane to fly is probably the latest and greatest airplanes. And we're
Aris?
trying to do as we make
Yeah, Aris 1.5. This is Aris. He did all this.
in space as well. But kind of like the cars that your parents are driving today, we want to make the advances such that it's easier to drive them as a car or fly them as an
Torch 5.2. This is the B17 or B17. The B52 that's up. It's at 44,000 feet, chilling.
Its previous generation, that was a crew of at least 4 in the cockpit and 5 or 6 folks in the back. And so the easiest to fly means you spend all that additional time and effort and attention and really training effort into getting better at employing the aircraft. I don't have any flight time in it, and I'll say yet, but F-35 is a relatively simple airplane to fly, but it flies a heck of a complex mission. It fights
Report up, Papa, verify 310 slant. What's your equipment?
It's still very rough. Laz, any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, exactly right, boss. You know, this will sound a little weird to folks, but for me, a Cessna 172 is much harder to fly than an F-22 Raptor, which is bizarre when people think about it. But in the F-22 Raptor, it is basically a flying supercomputer, in which if there's heavy winds, it'll automatically compensate for a lot of things there. It puts in flight controls to make things smooth, right? You don't have any of that in a Cessna 172. It's all cables and pulleys and rudders to get the airplane to go where you want it to go. But for all the reasons that the boss is describing, when we make very, very modern airplanes, we try to reduce what we call the pilot load, which means that if you have to spend less time actually flying the airplane, you can use more of that brain energy, if you will, to actually employ the airplane.
That BE-20, that's a C-12, so that's military.
And I think that speaks
the C-12 aircraft.
Again, that culture of innovation that we talk about runs in the DNA of all airmen, but I would say the aviation industry as a whole.
You got the C-12, there's the C-17 doing the touch or on downwind. Over here, it's not participating. Oh, it's B737 something. That's the B52, and that's it.
One of the things I've been great
Yeah, these weren't part of the air show, but these are right here.
And just didn't accept the status quo. Men like Billy Mitchell, who just fully understood what airplanes could really do and ran right against the grain of the prevailing culture at the time. Men like Jimmy Doolittle, personally, my favorite airman that ever existed in the history of the world, Jimmy Doolittle, who figured out a way to take World War II bombers.
Yeah, we didn't have any Raptors.
But when you read his life story,
Vipers were here today. If you go back in the stream, you could see. On YouTube, you can go to YouTube and watch it on there. They were here earlier. But Raptors yesterday were supposed to fly, but had to gab it, so didn't make it yesterday. And then it was only flying on Fridays, not Saturday, so didn't make it. They had 35s yesterday too. That's some 35s. That was pretty cool.
And that's kind of embedded into the DNA of what we are as an Air Force. You were mentioning afterwards, and so I was privileged, truly privileged, that's the only way I can really describe it, to serve on the first cadre of that team. So we were recruited by the Vice Chief of Staff specifically to figure out how to get the Air Force tagged up with a lot of different innovations that were happening in the private sector. And so it was a chance. It was interesting, Dan. I mean, you're an airman, right? But you never wore military clothes. You wore a lot of civilian business casual. You hung out in places like Silicon Valley and Austin, Texas, and Manhattan. And you're meeting some really high-end technical people. But it was all about making our Air Force stronger and better.
And that plane right there is a prime example of what you guys were just talking about, making it better. That's a gorgeous plane.
One of the neat things about places like AFWorks and other items like that are spinning off into the Air Force right now is that we have technology that's ready to do it, but you have to have the culture willing to accept the challenging of the status quo and the norm. One of the phrases that folks have heard me say a lot is, I love fresh eyes. I love someone that comes into a problem without any preconceived notions or biases, and they look at it and they ask questions why or why not, and they ask them again and again and again. And I think that while there are pockets of resistance to that across many of the organizations that we have in society today, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find an organization more innovative than the Department of the Air Force. Testament to that at the department level is we just spun off a new sister service, the Space Force, which was an innovative thought, and we're embracing that service and making sure that it roots properly and it grows well.
Well, Colonel Gordon, we'd certainly
Another touch and go. Nice.
by today, and thanks for
Yeah, I didn't see the
all you do
reversers on
and
there,
your
so it
innovative
must have been a touch and go.
spirit as well.
No, this was fun. Dan, thanks for having me. And like I said, I'm having a blast watching the C17 do touch and goes because, like I said, that is a gorgeous airplane. And, you know, for all the boys and girls out there watching, if I could leave you with one important message. When you see General Higer or you see me or any of the other airmen that you see kind of walking across here, we are 100% absolutely and positively no different than any of you. We were all little kids looking up and wondering what it would be like to be in the Air Force or fly airplanes or to think about space or really technical things. We just did it. That's the only real difference, is that we have more scars just for going through all that to be able to be here. But I'm here to tell you that if guys like us can do it, anyone can. Believe me, we are more than happy, right, to have really talented, very creative, energetic folks that are just passionate about aviation. We always like to say that in the Air Force, we're all technology nerds, right? We're all superheroes with a bent for trying to help people. And that's what kind of unites us all together as a culture. Is we're a very technical service with this idea that we love our nation and we want to be on the cutting edge of technology. So by all means, please pull any of us aside, right? You saw a lot of the information about how to join. We'd love to have you.
Thanks so much, sir. And I wanted to get back to a couple more questions as we get ready to introduce our next guest. But this question's for you, General Higer. It's, would you ever transition work into flying rockets to space with NASA instead of flying aircraft at Edwards?
So the opportunities to be
There goes that tower flyby for the Wayland 3-3. The C-12 P52 is just chilling at 44,000 feet. See if I can see him outside.
Questions back in the late 1980s, early 1990s. Those were heavy days for the shuttle. If I want to be a shuttle crew member, what do I have to do? And as I peeled that onion back, it led me to I need to be exceptionally good at engineering, and to be that, I have to be exceptionally good in high school at math, and I have to understand chemistry and physics, and then I have to get into a good degree program. And I could build and string what I needed to accomplish to potentially have a chance to be on a shuttle one day. And the interesting and fascinating piece of advice I got a long time ago, which I give to anyone thinking about where they want to go in 10, 20, or 30 years, as you build that bridge or that path to get there, don't put too many rungs in that ladder that are not things you wouldn't do just for their own sake. You know, if you just want to be an astronaut and that's all you want to be, but you don't want to do any of the steps to get from A to B, and you miss, you'll have wasted a lot of opportunity and a lot of your life. And if you can find ways that you can lateral through those rungs in the ladder to still get where you want to go, and the laterals are things that you also really enjoy doing, one of two things is going to happen. You're going to have an awesome life and an awesome career to get to your ultimate goal, or you're going to do what I did, and you're going to lateral off to something and you go, that's really cool. You know, I'm just going to stay here because while space flight and rockets are certainly very interesting, what I've had the privilege to do has been as much or more so to me. Will I ever get a chance to pilot an aircraft into space, rocket into space? Don't know. But, you know, I'm only 50 years young, so there's time.
Young at heart, young at heart. Delighted to be joined on set by Dr. David Smith, the Director of Air Force Production and the Flight Test Facility, Plant 42 out in Palmdale. And, sir, how are you?
Outstanding. It's just a wonderful day to be here with you all. Weather's beautiful. Jet noise, smell of gas in the air. This is awesome. It doesn't get better than this.
It literally doesn't. It literally doesn't.
And because we know you're such a B52 aficionado, we have a question from Nicholas. He's out in Victorville, 12 years old, and he wants to know how fast the B52 goes.
Okay, well, Victor, I can tell you, well, first off, thank you for your question. I spent a lot of time to and from Victorville. I started dating a young girl from out there a few years ago and wound up marrying her. So we've moved her from Victorville to Palmdale, but we still have family in that region. So great that you brought that question. B-52 is a high-speed subsonic aircraft. So it flies about the speeds of the airliners that you might get on. On paper, that's a 0.84 Mach limited airplane, which if you put that into just very round terms, On the ground, that's between 500 and 600 miles an hour. So considerably faster than what you're going to see on the freeway. But by design, it's a big bomber versus a little sleek fighter. So it's not really built for speed and agility. It's built for carriage.
And the other thing that B52 has that a lot of those little sleek, maybe faster fighters have, is that it has range. And so range internally is impressive, and it's indefinite. In fact, it's only limited by things that are not fuel, so the people or other mechanical items as well. So your longest B52 sortie there, Jester?
36 hours. 36 hours, sir, is a lot of work.
It is. It really is.
We've only been on the air 2.5 hours, so I couldn't imagine if we had another 33 hours or so.
Yeah, it really is, and you know, that is not uncommon for crews back in those platforms. I'm good friends with a couple B2 air crew, and when they talked about taking off out of Whiteman and dropping bombs around the world, they departed from Whiteman, did a lot of ARs on the way. They did their mission, did a few ARs back, and landed the same place. Very, very long duration sorties, and that type of global reach combined with global power is what we get out of aircraft like the B52.
So that endurance and persistence in the battle space, and I know you know this, General, but it's just huge. The opportunity to loiter for our soldiers on the ground for literally hours or even days, that they will know that they have persistent combat capability that can rain decisive force on an enemy position, is life-saving and mission.
There's the Gulf Stream.
So the theme of
this
Aerospace Valley Air Show here
gonna end it right about here. Be sure to watch it on the Edwards Air Force Base page, because I do not feel like you have to end it too. So be sure to watch it on Facebook at the Edwards Air Force Base. But I'm gonna end it here. I'd like to thank everyone for watching and staying with me for coming up on 3 hours now. But I enjoyed it, better than no air show at all. Got to get an insight view of the air traffic control on this channel, and watch the coverage on Edwards Air Force Base. So after this C17 lands or touch and go, I think he's going to land. I think he asked for a full stop. So once this C17 lands, I will end the stream, and hopefully you guys can watch it on Facebook.
It applies because it's still really cool, and you ought to be exposed to it, even if that side of your brain takes you onto a different vector. So with all that said, what Plant 42 is delivers combat capability to the United States of America. That's what we do. And we do it by empowering contractors to build state-of-the-art jets, and frankly, to work and modernize things like my venerable B52. The 3,000 hours I have in that airplane, I've seen it gone from steam, liquid gauges inside to a fourth generation, highly automated weapon system. Still not quite technology-wise where that F-22 is that Laz Gordon was talking about, but an amazing leap forward. And Plant 42 is that kind of facility that does that. It has a legacy of remarkable aviation history. Building the space shuttle there, building the B-2 there. The first jet hangar for the United States Air Force is at Plant 42. But all these things simply don't matter if we don't have a high-quality workforce. And that high-quality workforce starts with STEM today. So what I like to talk about, my stolen idea from Tesla, is that we use a farm team mentality. And what I mean by that, paralleling Major League Baseball, is we're the pros down there. If you're on our team, you're in the pros. You've made
Last Daddy did touch and go, and that's it for me. Like I said, be sure to continue watching them on Facebook, but I'm going to end it right here, and I want to thank everyone for being here for coming up on 3 hours, and until next time, have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and long weekend that is. So thanks for watching, and see you till next time.
And you know,
See ya.
all those things, though, require something very unique. They require